The rain had been falling for 3 days without pause, a steady curtain that dulled the crimson banners of House Lannister to a dusky brown and turned the camps beneath Riverrun's walls into a mire of churned earth. Jaime Lannister watched the rivulets streak down the crimson silk, each droplet gliding like molten glass along the golden lion at its center before plunging to the sodden ground. The banners hung limp in the still air, there was no wind to embolden them, no breeze to crack their fringes into lively movement. It suited his mood. The siege had settled into the slow, maddening rhythm that always came in the wake of first blood, brief bursts of fury as swordies tested each other's mettle, followed by interminable stretches of waiting. No one truly knew what to do with themselves in those stretches, not the foot soldiers who rolled dice in muddy tents, nor the knights who sharpened already sharp blades, nor the lord commanders who rearranged the same pieces on the same boards night after night. Jaime tried to remember whether he had ever liked sieges. There had been a time, long before he'd grown wearied by the taste of iron in his mouth, when any campaign set his pulse racing. Yet here he was, at 34, the greatest swordsman in the 7 kingdoms, standing in puddles like any bored squire. He touched the hilt of his sword, both hands present, both fingers strong. How different everything might have been had they not remained so. It had been months since the misbegotten journey north, months since the Stark girl had failed to find the opportunity to slip her blade between his ribs. She tried, and he still bore the angry mark below his collarbone to prove it, but the gods, or the stranger, had tilted the dagger a fraction of a hair's breadth in his favor. He'd snagged her wrist, disarmed her, and what followed was a scramble of shouting, Tywin's gold cloaks, and a hurried exchange brokered by Lord Bolton. No screaming horse, no manacle pinching off the lifeblood of his sword hand, no stump wrapped in filthy sheepskin. The Stark girl was shipped off south with Lady Brienne in chains, and Jaime rode back to the army whole but not unchanged. That dark night in the north had not stolen his dexterity, but it had stolen something subtler. He worried at it in idle moments, the way a tongue drifts back to the jagged edge of a freshly broken tooth. Perhaps it was only the knowledge that the lion could bleed, that even a blade as swift as his could be stayed by mud, exhaustion, or the clumsiness of an overzealous captor. Since then, every swing of his sword carried a ghost of hesitation, as if the weapon remembered paths it might have taken through flesh instead of air. He flexed his fingers now, letting the gauntlet creak soft protest. They still obeyed. Sir Jaime. He turned. A young knight of the Craycall line, Alistair, perhaps they multiplied like vermin in a granary, stood in a huddle of torchlight. Water beaded off the rim of the lad's helm. The Lord Father requests your counsel in the command tent. Requests, Jaime echoed. That is generous diction for my Lord Father. The boy colored. He said at once, sir. And here I linger, adding insolence to delay. Jaime smiled without warmth. Lead on. They splashed through muddy alleys between rows of tents. Cookfires hissed under the relentless drizzle, raising thin ghosts of smoke. Men glanced up as Jaime passed, some with grudging admiration, others with resentment. Even in camp he wore his plate, polished to a glow impossible to maintain in this weather unless one had squires enough to shine it every hour. Appearance mattered. A knight in tarnished steel might fight with honor, but a shining lion reminded the realm who truly ruled. Tywin Lannister's great pavilion rose near the siege lines, a hulking beast of crimson silk banded with gold. Torchlight inside gave it the illusion of a fiery heart. 2 guards flanked the entrance. They saluted as Jaime shouldered past the canvas flap. The interior smelled of damp wool, wax, and parchment. At the center stood a massive oak table upon which lay Riverrun rendered in miniature, its sandstone walls hemmed in by palisades of lead soldiers. Tywin looked up from the fortress with an expression forged in the same unyielding furnace that had shaped Casterly Rock's very foundations. You're late. I was admiring the scenery. Shall I describe it for you? Mud. Rain. More mud. Spare me your wit. Sit. Jaime eased onto a stool. Lords Randall Tarley and Mathis Rowan occupied others, somber as granite statues awaiting moss. Kevin Lannister stood behind them, fiddling with a letter. He gave Jaime a small nod, approval, encouragement, a silent plea for restraint. Kevin's diplomacy blurred all three into one. Tywin tapped Riverrun's western wall with a mailed finger. Tully defenses remain strong. Every sortie costs us thrice as many men as we claim. Our provisions will last, theirs will not, but I dislike idle attrition. We must provoke a misstep. Starve them properly, suggested Lord Tarley, his heavy brows knitting. Drive off the river barges, dam the tumblestone. Leave them chewing shoe leather. And allow Blackfish Tully time to rally river lords to his banners? Tywin asked. No. We press. Jaime tilted his head. I hear the Blackfish keeps a swift temper leashed by cooler blood. If we kill the cooler blood... Hoster is dying already, Rowan said. The bastard clings because a father's pride can sink an anchor deeper than any iron chain. Tywin regarded the figurine representing Brynden Tully poised upon Riverrun's battlements. Cut off the head and the tail runs. We need an opening. Jaime saw the moment, the faint narrowing of his father's gaze, cool meditation sharpening to strategy, and felt a private thrill. Tywin Lannister calculated possibilities the way lesser men counted coins. You have a suggestion, Jaime said. I have an instrument. Tywin's voice was quiet. A catapult can hurl only stone, a lion's roar can shatter walls left intact by siege engines. Tully pride is a wall. We will break it. Jaime's brows rose. Whom do you propose to hurl? Edmure Tully's bride. Tywin's stare did not waver. She weds next fortnight. Walder Frey will host the ceremony. Rowan looked uneasy. A wedding, my lord? Even Frey's fear guessed right. Lord Frey fears obscurity more. Promise him Riverrun and the Trident's tolls, he will provide the knives. Tywin turned to Jaime. I will require a lion at the wedding. One to calm the old goat's vanity. Send Kevin. He navigates Frey niceties better than I. I need Kevin here. I need you among the Freys, golden, noble, terrifying, to keep their daggers aligned. You will ride tomorrow. Jaime felt a flicker of annoyance. Riverrun had been Carrie's favorite castle, its walls etched into his memories from boyhood visits with Mother. To sit in its lord's seat, to stride its parapets, yet that prize dangled while he attended a stinking Frey feast. He almost envied the ghosts inside Riverrun more than the living, at least they remained where they belonged. Very well, he said. If you wish me to guard this slaughterhouse in nuptial garb, I'll dress my best. Guard? Tywin echoed, a faint smile making a razor-thin cut in his cheeks. You misunderstand. You will dance, you will drink, you will charm the Frey women. And when the arrows fly, you will lead the butchery. Frey men are swift to draw but slow to finish. I want stark blood spilled before surprise hardens into resistance. Rowan's skin had gone the color of curdled milk. My lord, if, Tywin snapped. If we do not break the Northern Alliance now, we fight it for years. Baratheon remnants still cower in the Stormlands. Stannis broods upon his rocks, and dragons stir in Essos. I will not waste half a decade chasing wolves through snows while krakens, stags, and serpents knit secret pacts. The Red Wedding ends Robb Stark. It ends the river. It ends the war. Silence pooled in the tent. Rain drummed the canvas like thousands of tiny fists. Jaime exhaled. So be it. I'll carve my lion's share. Tywin inclined his head. Ensure Roose Bolton takes the blame. Wolves must be flayed by Bolton knives, not lion claws. Jaime almost laughed. The wolves will know whose gold bought the feast. Let them know, but the realm will believe what singers sing. Jaime rose. If you expect singers to praise this night, hire them in advance. Fear makes poor melody. I expect victory, Tywin said simply. Go. Outside, the rain felt colder, as if the tent's warmth had numbed his skin. Jaime mounted his warhorse and rode the perimeter, mind whirling. He had seen war crimes enough. Harrenhal's smoking towers still haunted the periphery of his dreams. Yet this plotted cruelty knotted his stomach differently. Weddings belonged to softer memories, his mother's laughter beneath myrtle boughs, a young Tyrion dancing with a Tyrell cousin too tall for him. To stain that sanctum with stealth blades felt like ripping pages from a holy tome. When he neared Riverrun's outer ditch, torches flickered upon the ramparts. He watched men he might kill stride between crenellations, their shadows tall against lantern-lit stone. Did they suspect? Could any guard know his daughter's laughter would end tonight, his cousin's ribs to be pierced? He touched his sword hilt again. At least his hand remained. He could not claim innocence, but he could ensure the killing was quick. Not clean, never clean, blood spurted, men screamed, gods turned silent, but quick. That merciful whisper set him apart from butcher lords and Sellsword scum. A kingslayer, yes, yet he killed the king to halt wildfire. He would kill the wolf to halt war. Ahead lay tomorrow's ride, 7 hard days to the Twins, where phantoms of spilled wine and warm viscera awaited. He wondered whether Cersei would smile when the raven arrived. The thought warmed him more than the poor torches. He turned his horse toward his pavilion. The night deepened, the rain thickened. Behind him the lion banners sagged, their golden thread glimmering whenever lightning bared the sky. They looked like beasts pinned to a butcher's board, shining even in death. The dawn ride cut across valleys drowning in mist. Jaime rode at the head of 30 knights, each chosen for loyalty to the lion's mane rather than scruples. Not one carried a trumpet. Thunderclouds served as herald enough. They wound between farmsteads abandoned at the siege's outset, their orchards untended, branches heavy with rot-sweet fruit that perfumed the chill air. On the second day his company passed a gibbet bearing 3 hanged men in Baratheon livery. Ravens perched on shoulders stripped to blue sinew. Someone had painted a stag in crimson beneath them, its entrails coiling like ribbons to the grass. Jaime ignored the smell, but some of his men gagged. War taught many lessons, that meat rotted fast in rain, that death wore any banner willing to claim it, that vanity outlived flesh. One gallows victim had his helm shoved atop his skull, antlers askew as though he still tried to impress a maiden. That night they made camp beneath a copse of birches. Sentries posted, fires low. Jaime did not remove his armor. He sat sharpening his longsword beneath a makeshift awning, the whetstones singing low metallic croons. The blade caught emberlight like a sliver of dawn. He marveled at its lethal purity, how a thing so simple as honed steel could unravel kingdoms of whispered intrigue. If a few strokes of a whetstone could change fates, how many strokes had forged him? Sleep came fitful. Dreams of crimson wedding halls slipped into memories of the Mad King's throne room. He saw Ares again, saw wildfire on the king's lips, saw the throne's iron teeth glinting hungrily behind the corpse as it slumped. Then Cersei drifted into view, lips soft as velvet, whispering sweet absolution if only he would keep killing. He awoke before he learned whom she wanted dead next. On the 4th day scouts reported a stark outrider force shadowing them from the eastern hills. Jaime ordered no pursuit. Let them watch lions march, let rumors gallop ahead. Fear was a courser swifter than any destrier. By the 6th day the outriders had vanished. At dawn on the 7th day the twins rose from the river fog. 2 squat towers bridged by stone ribs that spanned the green fork. Flags flapped along the parapets, pale silver gray, the leaping trout of Tully, pale blue, the crossed towers of Fry, pale field, the flayed man of Bolton. Over them all, brightest in the morning sun, streamed a crimson banner sewn with dire wolf. Robb Stark was within, a child king yet undefeated, and soon, to Tywin's mind, undone. Fry guards halted the column at the eastern gate. Jaime dismounted, water squelching in the ditch where he landed. His lion helm he tucked beneath one arm, his hair, still rich gold though dimmed by grime, fell across pauldron and gorget. He strode forward alone, sword-belted but unblooded. A surly sergeant demanded names. Jaime offered them with bored courtesy. Lamps were lit, scrolls consulted, ravens loosed into gray dawn. At length came the rustle of skirts and Walder Frey's voice like dried leaves. "You keep us waiting. I've seldom seen a more lackadaisical wedding guest." Jaime bowed the knight's bow, hardly bending the knee. "I travel at the realm's pleasure, Lord Fry." Frey's watery eyes gleamed. Realm? A fancy word for Tywin Lannister. Some would say the same of House Fry soon. Frey's mouth puckered, unsure whether to take insult. Jaime forestalled him with a sweeping gesture. "Shall we feast?" The twins opened. Jaime's procession clattered across the cobbled courtyard, banners streaming. Stark men and Fry men mingled under archways, sharing flasks and wary glances. Inside, the great hall was half-dressed for revel, garlands hung limp, casks waited like squat sentinels, minstrels tuned strings. Jaime surveyed doorways, counting exits, measuring distances, dais to benches, benches to hearth, hearth to side doors. He noted alcoves behind tapestries where crossbowmen might crouch. He found weak spots in the floor rushes that could conceal caltrops. His thoughts were a sword thrust through shadows, mapping blood before any spilled. Robb Stark strode in before noon, gray wind padding at his heel. The direwolf's coat was slate and storm, its eyes pale moons. Jaime's knights stiffened. The young wolf's gaze flickered over them, paused upon Jaime. "King Lear." Jaime inclined his head a hair's breadth. "King in the north." Robb's mouth twitched, half grimace, half smile. "My bannermen call me that. The rest of us wait to see proof in dragon glass." Jaime tapped his sword hilt. "Forgive the jest. I'm a poor juggler of crowns." Gray wind sniffed, lips peeling back. Jaime kept still. If he reached for steel too quickly, the room would ignite before Fry could finish setting tables. But the direwolf trotted on, shadows rippling under his paws. He smelled many scents here, loyalty, doubt, the sour undercurrent of betrayal thickening like unseen fog. Drums boomed during supper's second course, echoing off stone ribs overhead. Lamb, trout, honeyed almonds, dishes paraded, wine flowed, music soared. Robb Stark laughed with young Edmure, toasted Walder Fry. His queen, Jane Westerling, had been left at Riverrun recovering from bastard ire-born arrow wounds, rumor said. 2 seats down Roose Bolton ate little, eyes hooded under bleached brow. His fingers drummed the table when no one watched. As the night advanced, Jaime joined the dance, spinning a Fry maiden through reels, his footsteps perfect to draw eyes. Men saw the Kingslayer whirl, saw his sword hand gliding at a respectable distance from the girl's waist. They relaxed. Leather softened, belts loosened. Jaime's smile drank half the hall's tension. Beneath that smile he counted minstrels, 7 tonight, not 6, 1 too many, one with a hunch that could hide quarrels. He marked 3 nervous drummers tapping quick rhythms though the music lay slow. He saw cups replaced by Fry squires far more diligent than earlier rounds. Wolfmen drank deeper. At last came the betting. Jaime had pleaded a sore knee. Roared laughter, many slaps on his gorget. He remained at table while the bride and groom disappeared in shrieking revelry. Servants cleared platters. Crossbowmen slipped behind gallery rails, the false minstrel unlatched a case. Jaime rose, signaling his knights. They moved to table ends as if stretching cramped limbs. The doors groaned shut. A single cord severed the chatter. Steel thrummed against bowstrings. Jaime drew his longsword, not the gilded blade he wore at tournaments but the true one, dull smiling in the torchlight. Darken. Walder Fry croaked. The torches died. Bolts sang. Crossbow quarrels slammed into oak, flesh, bone. Stark men toppled mid-laugh, mead spilling from shattered mugs. Drums thundered red fury. Jaime stepped forward, blade parrying instinctively more than eyes could guide. A Stark guard lunged, Jaime sidestepped, hamstrung him, severed spine with a reverse cut. The hall became a storm of screams. Gray winds shook rafters. The dire wolf burst from servants' doorways, for slick with blood not his own. Fry men shrieked, jaws snapped, an arm flew, arterial spray painting the rushes. Jaime yelled for his knights to form circle, protect flanks, drive the beast to center. Crossbows tracked fur. Quarrels loosed. 1, 2, 3 sunk into Gray Wind's shoulders. The dire wolf spun, jaws crimson. Jaime advanced, sword poised. Another quarrel thudded between the beast's ribs, deep. It staggered. Jaime slashed. The head rolled, eyes fading moons extinguished midwinter. Robb Stark burst in clad in only belt and boots, sword drawn, shirt half-laced. Bed warmth still clouded his breath. Jaime confronted him 10 paces from the dais. So you kept the hand, Robb said hoarsely, blood spattering his chest as he pivoted. Shame. It would not be fair otherwise, Jaime answered. I'm no butcher of the crossing. He pointed to Walder Fry cackling behind guards. He'll claim that title. Bolton strode from shadows, dagger slick wet in fist. Robb saw and faltered. Jaime caught the moment, lunged. Steel rang. Robb parried, but wine and shock slowed him. 3 exchanges, 4, 5 faster than dancers, deadlier than drums. Jaime found an opening under Stark's guard, scored rib. Another slash, shoulder. Robb reeled. Bolton's dagger flashed low, gut cut. Jaime's final thrust pierced throat. Stark eyes widened, lips parted, voice gurgled. It had to end, Jaime whispered. The rest is song. Robb collapsed, a marionette whose strings had snapped. Silence devoured the hall, broken only by Walder Frey's ragged laughter and the drip of blood from benches to straw. Jaime stood amidst red ruin. He turned his sword, surveying the carnage. Stark men lay heaped, Fry men too, even the planner could not avoid stray steel. Crossbow bolts protruded like porcupine quills from rafters. The smell of crushed grapes, of iron, of smoke from overturned braziers churned his stomach. He wiped his blade on a fallen tabard. His hand did not tremble. Yet inside, something fissured. He had killed kings before, but never like this, a feast turned charnel. He thought of Catelyn Stark wherever she hid, how this night's echo would reach her, hollowing her bones. He thought of Riverrun, of Tullykin, of Edmure's bride waiting upstairs unaware her lord father now lay new-hacked upon sticky floorboards. Jaime sheathed the sword. The weight of its unbroken promise tugged at his hip. Bolton approached. Eyes pale as winterglass. Well struck, sir. The North will bleed long for this. It's finished, Jaime said. Bolton's thin smile suggested otherwise. Now the flaying begins. Jaime's gaze hardened. No. There's been enough flaying for one night. Bolton held his stare, weighing. At last he inclined his head, ironically courtly. As you wish, Kingslayer. Though come morning we'll see who names villain. We always do. Jaime strode past, boots slipping on gore. Outside, dawn cracked the horizon. The rain had passed. A hush hung over the river as if the gods themselves paused, unsure how to judge what they'd witnessed. Jaime wondered which of his many sins weighed heaviest: kingslaying, oath-breaking, kinslaying by proxy, this bloody betrayal. Each layered over the other until no part of him seemed untainted. But his hand remained. Strong, steady, lethal. He flexed fingers. Tomorrow, Tywin would hail the blow that ended a rebellion. Songs would spew from coward minstrels, calling this the ultimate lion's hunt. Jaime knew better. This was no hunt. It was slaughter penned in a hall where trust should sit unarmed between bride and groom. He mounted his horse, treading carefully to avoid the crimson that trickled from the doorway. The twins' towers loomed behind him, their bridge a blade across the river. Somewhere within, Walder Frey toasted new titles. Bolton measured hides, and Jaime rode away, banners furled, nights silent. The sky glowed violet over fields yet unsown. His thoughts followed the river south to King's Landing, to Cersei, to children with golden curls, to a throne grown ever more precarious. He pictured the wildfire Cassius Ares once dreamed to unleash, still buried perhaps, waiting. The realm was tinder again. He had severed stark fangs, but Dornish spears glittered. Tyrell roses bristled with hidden thorns, and across the narrow sea a dragon queen gathered storm. He flexed his right hand, felt the life pulsing. Somewhere, far in the north, a white wind whispered of other wars entirely. The fate of kingdoms still turned upon his sword, and because the gods, or chance, had spared that sword hand, he could not keep it idle. He rode on. Morning light spilled over the green fork in pearlescent ripples, catching on the muddy hooves of Jaime's destrier as he forded the shallows. The army had dissolved behind him like a dream upon waking. Frey banners furled, Bolton men scattering to collect spoils, Tywin's riders consolidating reports, but the smell of the red wedding clung to his cloak, metallic and stubborn as rust. Even when the wind blew eastward off the river, he tasted copper at the back of his throat. He rode with only a half-score knights now. The host that had escorted him northward remained to garrison the twins and shore up the new alliance of convenience between lions and flayed men. Tywin had made clear in his raven, "Hasten to the capital. Present yourself before the king. The court will need a hero's face." Jaime knew what that meant. Joffrey required fresh spectacle, and Tywin preferred to shape the narrative before Varys or Olenna Tyrell could see their own version. The first 2 days south were eerily calm. Farmers peeked from shuttered windows, then ducked away when they saw crimson cloaks. Nothing sours a peasant's trust faster than rumor, and rumor galloped faster than any mail-clad knight. Jaime heard children's songs drifting through apple orchards. The king in the north rides no more, the king in the north rides never. The melody snagged at him like burrs. He would have spurred his mount harder, but his men's horses were already blowing foam, and hurrying only drove the ghosts closer. On the third evening they reached an abandoned sept beside the Red Fork. Its white marble facade was chipped by decades of storms, but the stranger's star above the lintel remained intact. They chose the sept over open camp. Stone walls might dull arrow shafts if roaming river lords decided to bleed lion blood. Jaime walked the perimeter while his men unpacked salt pork and hardtack. The interior smelled of damp straw and spent incense. At the apse stood a cracked statue of the warrior, sword uplifted to a shattered ceiling. Jaime paused before the figure. Moonlight poured through missing roof tiles, silvering stone cheekbones. Once he would have whispered a jest about the gods, how they watched battles like gamblers around a dice table, each favoring a different throw, but tonight he only studied the sword. The sculptor had carved every vein on the blade, each fuller line impeccable. Stone frozen mid-cut, perfect and useless. "You look like you know the fellow," Ser Edric Dane said, approaching with 2 tin cups of watered wine. "Too many similarities," Jaime replied, accepting a cup. Handsome, unyielding, prone to break when faced with mortal weight. Edric grinned. "Shall we chip away at him, then, until he's no longer a mirror? We could, but I'd rather not risk the roof falling entirely." Jaime clinked cups. "Besides, mirrors are sometimes needed. They remind us where cracks form." Night deepened. The men unrolled bedrolls on stone benches. Jaime remained seated, back against a pillar, fingers worrying the pommel of his sword. Sleep stalked him in slow circles before finally pouncing. It brought dreams of golden summer at Casterly Rock. Cersei racing him along sea cliffs, hair streaming behind her like a war banner of pure light. He tried to catch her, but his hands were covered in blood, and every time he reached she slipped like water through a sieve. He woke with dawn whitening the eastern slits, heartbeat drumming against breastplate. They resumed travel as sun climbed. By midday, the air throbbed with cicadas, the road's dust rising in languid whirls. Jaime dozed in saddle, lulled by rhythmic clop, until a shout from vanguard jolted him. Ahead, 5 riders blocked the path, brown cloaks clasped with copper stars, sentinels of the Brotherhood without banners. Their leader, a wiry man with an axe strapped across his back, raised a gloved hand. "Hold, Lannisters! Tolls for safe passage." Jaime spurred forward until he was a horse's length away. "I pay no tolls on my own king's road." The man cocked his head. "Your king's road runs narrow these days. We see neither crown nor courtesy." His gaze dipped to Jaime's hip to the lion head buckle. "We hear of butcher feasts at the Twins. Did the Kingslayer carve the main course?" Jaime's men bristled. Hands slid to hilts. Jaime lifted a gauntlet, stilling them. "Only cowards ambush in groups of 5. You'll need more if you want lion meat. We've more than you see." Bushes rustled, arrows twanged. Shafts sprouted in the road a yard from Jaime's horse, deliberate misses. The destrier reared, snorting. Jaime's pulse quickened, but he forced calm. "Speak your petition, then." "Return the Stark girl." The axeman's voice hardened. "Arya?" A gust seemed to strip heat from the day. Jaime kept his expression impassive. "The girl you seek rides elsewhere. Last I knew, she traveled south under safe escort." "Safe?" The man spat. "Lions know little of that virtue. We'll have her back." Jaime weighed options. Fighting meant needless blood, surrender invited ransom and delay. "I give my word, the girl is unharmed. She journeyed to King's Landing to exchange for her sister. Track east, you may catch her." The axeman studied him. "You speak truth. Believe what you wish. I've no time for this." Jaime signaled his men. They nudged mounts forward. Bows creaked above hedges, but no arrows flew. When distance stretched to 100 paces, Jaime exhaled. He hated lying. Arya had indeed traveled south, shackled, gagged, escorted by men who would obey Cersei's every whim. Whether she remained unharmed was beyond his guarantee. Near sunset they reached a burned estate. A shell of blackened timbers. Jaime ordered halt, horses needed rest. He wandered the skeletal corridor of what had once been a hall. Charred rafters jutted overhead like ribs of a dead leviathan. In the corner lay a child's toy wooden knight, untouched by fire but smeared with soot. Jaime knelt, brushing off ash. The tiny shield bore a faded blue fish. Riverrun colors. He set it down gently, as though disturbing a tomb. His men built small fires among fallen stones. Ser Garrett Frey, a cousin of Walder, approached tipping a wineskin. "Thirsty, Ser?" "Only for answers," Jaime said. Garrett flinched. "About what?" "About children at feast tables." Jaime fixed him with a cold stare. "Did you know what would happen?" Garrett's cheeks reddened behind grime. Lord Walder swore all houses would benefit." "I did as duty demanded." "Duty," Jaime murmured. "A lovely veil, duty?" He waved the night off, turned to the horizon where dusk painted clouds in bruised lavender. In the afterglow, smoke from unseen farmsteads drifted like funeral incense. That night Jaime dreamt he was back in the throne room, but the throne was gone. In its place rose a twisted mockery fashioned from bones of wolves and trout, antlers and direwolf fangs. At its summit sat Cersei, crowned with roses dripping blood. She extended her hand, his own, severed and rotted, beckoning him closer. He woke before dawn, the throb of phantom pain gripping fingers that remained flesh and bone. On the 6th day the King's Road unwound into rolling fields of barley ripening under relentless sun. They passed columns of Tyrell levies headed north, men in green cloaks embroidered with golden roses, singing bawdy songs about maiden pool taverns. The levies parted, saluting Jaime with puzzled respect. They'd expected tales of one-handed knight, instead they saw a lion hole, his sword hand wrapped in crimson leather. At midday they spotted the plumes of a royal escort moving north. 30 gold cloaks, a white cloak at their fore. Jaime's heart hammered. He kicked his horse into canter. Dust rose in his wake. The 2 columns met beside an ancient stone well. The white cloak belonged to Ser Marantran, his face lit with forced deference. "Ser Jaime, we ride to collect Lady Sansa Stark from the Eyrie by royal command." Jaime's brow lifted. "Does the Queen intend to chain every Stark girl in sight?" Meryn shrugged. "His Grace desires hostages." "And what of Arya?" Meryn frowned. "Dead by all accounts." Jaime's jaw tensed. "Tell His Grace the reports are premature." Trank glanced at Jaime's untouched right hand. "Your journey was kinder than rumored. Rumor gilds truth to please tongues like yours." Jaime wheeled back to his men. "We ride." 2 days later, the walls of King's Landing shimmered above veil of sorrows and smoke. The city seemed unchanged, except bells tolling, gulls wheeling over Blackwater, beggars haggle shouting at gates. But Jaime sensed tension taut as a drawn bowstring. When the guards sighted his banner, they saluted, then whispered behind hands. Jaime entered through Lion Gate, clatter echoing off redstone. Inside the Red Keep, the air carried different notes: roasted cinnamon, fresh lemons, spilled ink. Servants scurried as his boots clicked along marble floors. He strode past the Hall of 100 Hearths, past columns where dragons once coiled. Ahead, the twin doors of the small council chamber opened. Tywin stood at the table, flanked by Pycelle and Lord Baelish. Cersei sat on a cushioned seat near the window, sunlight wreathing her golden hair. For an instant, Jaime saw the girl on cliffs again. Then she rose, face composed. "Brother." Her voice was cool wine. "I expected half a man. I left that half on the road," Jaime said. Tywin motioned. "Report." Jaime closed the doors behind him. "Robb Stark is dead. So is Grey Wind. The North will howl, but Walder Frey will hold the twins, and Bolton will hold Winterfell once the snows recede." Baelish's thin lips curved. "An elegant stroke, my lord." "Elegant?" Cersei's eyes flashed. "A feast of slaughter is elegant?" Tywin's glacier gaze drifted to her, then back to Jaime. "Outcome, not method, writes history." "History writes itself," Jaime said quietly. "Whether we like the penstroke." Tywin ignored the comment. "You will present yourself before the king tomorrow. He will knight you Lord Commander of the Kingsguard in truth, not merely in name. Your hand intact fortifies the myth." Cersei's fingers curled on the windowsill. Pycelle cleared his throat. "A boon for morale ahead of his grace's wedding." Jaime lifted a brow. "Which one?" "I lose count." Cersei's mouth tightened. "Marjorie Tyrell marries Joffrey in 3 moons. She wheels the small folk with smiles. We need loyalty at her back." Tywin gestured Jaime forward. "Tommen adores you as well. Guide them both." "We are not nurses," Cersei snapped. "We are lions. And lions raise cubs," Tywin retorted. "When mothers fail, brothers step in." He turned to Jaime. "There is more. Stannis licks wounds on Dragonstone. Intel from Varys suggests sell sail contracts on Lys and Myr. I'll send Paxter Redwine to blockade Blackwater Bay, but Dragonstone's walls are stout. I need a siege commander. That would be me." Jaime's voice flat. "You," Tywin affirmed after the wedding. "You will depart with a fleet, lay siege, break Stannis before he gathers strength. A swift victory will hush Stark ghosts." Jaime nodded mechanically. He saw his future unfolding, a tapestry woven with Lannister crimson, court pageantry, twin illusions, hero of wedding tourney, savior of throne, breaker of rebels. Yet behind every thread pulsed the memory of the twins. He flexed his right hand. The gauntlet creaked. Tywin dismissed counsel. Baelish bowed, Pycelle shuffled. Cersei lingered. When the room emptied, she approached. "I fear the loss of your hand would end us. Every whisper said you remained. Does that sour your appetite?" "On the contrary." She traced a fingertip along his vambrace. "It reminds me fortune favors lions." But her voice hardened. "You reek of guilt?" "I smell it like smoke." "Perhaps because there was smoke." He brushed her hand away gently. "You asked for results. I delivered. I asked you to return to me. I did not ask for dead wolves." He met her eyes. "You asked for our son secure. That security has price." Cersei's gaze flickered to the golden lion on his cuirass. "And what of Bolton? Can we trust a man who flays his own banner?" "We trust fear." Jaime exhaled. Roose Bolton fears Tywin's gold more than northern superstitions. Cersei wrapped arms round his waist, cheek against cold steel. For a breath he allowed the embrace, then stepped back. "Not here. My chambers after dark," she whispered. He did not promise. He left by servant's stair, ascended to White Sword Tower where Kingsguard lodged. The tower smelled of old polish and musty vellum. Inside the solar, Ser Balon Swan sat sharpening a dagger. He stood when Jaime entered. "Lord Commander." "Not yet, sir. But soon." Jaime removed armor, set sword on rack. "Any disturbances?" "Smallfolk riots last week, hunger, rumors of plague. The city watch contained it. Lord Varys attends to whispers." Jaime grunted. "Whispers multiply like vermin. Keep watch on the dungeons. Stark girls might arrive soon." Swan hesitated. "Some talk of Lady Brienne. She arrived 2 days before you. Queen Cersei has her held in Maiden Vault." Jaime stilled. "Alive? For now." He dismissed Swan, then sat at desk where the white book waited, Chronicle of Kingsguard Deeds, smug with blank pages awaiting heroics. Jaime flipped to the last entry he'd written years ago. Sir Jaime Lannister, eldest son of Lord Tywin, took oath in his 17th year. Served King Aerys II, slew him to save the city from wildfire. The ink trailed off where scribes had refused to pen condemnation or praise. He stared at the gap. How many times had he imagined rewriting it? Yet every attempt ended in ellipses because truth never fit tidy lines. He dipped quill, considered first stroke. A knock interrupted. Ser Loras Tyrell entered, rose-cheeked and fragrant of rosewater. Sir Jaime, a moment? Jaime gestured. Speak. Loras closed door. My sister trusts the king's affection, but Tywin's shadow chills us. Lord Mace seeks assurances. Remove half the gold cloaks from the wedding hall, my men will stand guard. Jaime smirked. Because your sister fancies white horses, you presume to stable them in the throne room? Loras flushed. We only wish fewer swords pointed at her back. Jaime's gaze hardened. Your sister weds into our house. Our swords protect her. Or shackle, Loras muttered. Jaime rose, stepping close until their armor clinked. Ser Loras, there will be no incident. If I learn of Tyrell plots, I'll prune every rose in your garden. Stark words, Loras said through gritted teeth. Learned them in the Riverlands. Jaime waved dismissal. Sleep easy. Focus on justs. After the night left, Jaime returned to the white book. He dipped quill again but found no words. Instead he penned 3 lines. Held sword steady beneath storm. Held shield for those who did not know they needed one. Balanced honor upon edge sharp as grief. He blew the ink dry. Felt like a lie. Late that night, he walked the ramparts above the courtyard. The city sprawled below, lanterns flickering like a sea of fireflies. Somewhere a man sang off-key, strings plucked. From the sept came faint toll of midnight. He leaned on battlement, staring south where Blackwater met the sea. Dragonstone was a darker smudge against starlight, invisible yet looming. Footsteps approached. Qyburn, robes gray, carried a small satchel. Sir Jaime. News from the dungeons. Why bring it to me? Her Grace instructed that I oversee special interrogations. The Lady Brienne refuses to yield the location of Sansa Stark. She claims ignorance. Jaime's chest tightened. She may truly not know. Perhaps. The Queen demands progress. Qyburn's tone oily. A deft touch may loosen tongues. No tongues will be loosened tonight. Jaime pushed off wall. Take me to her. Maiden vault corridors smelled of mildew. Torches flickered. 2 kettle black brothers stood guard. They eyed Jaime nervously. Inside the cell Brienne sat chained to wall, wrists raw, face bruised. Even slumped she radiated stubborn dignity. Her eyes widened when he entered. Sir Jaime. Relief ward with reproach. They said you were whole. More or less. He knelt. They hurt you? Beyond pride? Not yet. He turned to Qyburn. Fetch salve, water, bread. Leave us. Qyburn hesitated but left. Jaime waited for doors to close. I'll have you released. And the girl. I cannot yet. He swallowed. The court's claws are deep, but I'll see you freed. Brienne's glare cut. Freedom without honor is thin beer. Then keep your honor. I'll settle for beer. He smiled wanly. Brienne's head bowed. I heard what happened at the twins. Did you? I wielded the blade, he said before she finished. Regret is a luxury. Her shoulders sagged. There is always choice. In war, choice is often choosing which sin weighs less. Footsteps returned. Qyburn delivered supplies. Jaime tended Brienne's wrists himself, wrapping linen. She watched silently, iron in her stare softening to uncertain gratitude. When done, he stood. Rest. I'll return. Back in his chamber, he found Cersei waiting. Clad in a crimson robe slipped to her hips. Candlelight danced on her skin. She moved to unlace his doublet, but he caught her wrists. Not tonight. Her eyes flashed. You refuse me? I'm tired, Cersei. And haunted. He pulled away. She slapped him. A bright sting. Haunted? See. NCE when do ghosts deter lions? Since they started wearing wolf pelts. She trembled with rage, beautiful, terrible. Our father's dreams depend on you. Do not falter. I have not. He rubbed his cheek. But I'm no tool to be kept oiled and sharpened then discarded. You were always my sword, she whispered. And you my shield. He reached, brushed her hair. But shield's dent. Sword's dull. She stepped back, chest rising. When you sail for Dragonstone, I will watch Blackwater sparkle, and I will pray you return whole. I will return changed. Her silence filled the room. Finally she kissed his palm, the palm still unmarred, and left. Sleep claimed him in patches. Before dawn the castle stirred, messenger sprinting, bells pealing low threat. He dressed, descended to courtyard. Tywin stood in full armor near stable, face stone. What now? Jaime asked. News from Essos. Daenerys Targaryen marches with unsullied, Yunkai fallen. She claims titles and dragons. Jaime exhaled. We have years before she crosses. We have months. Tywin mounted. Lord Hoster Tully died. Riverrun may bend knee or burn. I ride at once, secure Riverlands. I just returned, Jaime said. You stay. Guard the throne, quell riots, prepare fleet. Tywin's horse stamped. Do not fail. He galloped away with household knights, crimson cloaks streaming beneath still pale sky. Jaime watched until dust swallowed them. Alone on rampart again he pondered dragons across sea, wolves howling in snow, roses stirring in court, krakens beneath surf. The realm felt sewn with brittle seams, his hand might stitch or sever each. He inhaled river air. Somewhere inside the city Brienne prayed to maid and warrior, Arya Stark perhaps waited in chamber, teeth bared. Cersei plotted, Tyrion schemed, Varys whispered. Jaime flexed his right hand. Blood warmed fingertips. He turned toward armory. Day's work lay ahead, inspections, patrols, edits to guard rosters. Small tasks against vast storms, yet every tower stands brick by brick. He would lay bricks, not for father's glory, but to hold chaos at bay until he carved path truer. When the sun cleared battlements, its light gilded his armor, turning him into the very statue he'd mocked. Stone warrior unbroken. But beneath gold shimmered flesh scarred by memory. And memory, he knew now, could cut deeper than any sword. He began walking, and the keep came alive around him, smiths hammering, ravens cawing, soldiers racing to drills. The city below buzzed. Somewhere a child laughed, unaware of banners burning far away. Jaime listened. That laugh was worth a siege, worth 100 red weddings avoided. He vowed, in that quiet, to shield what innocence remained. For though the gods had spared his sword hand, they'd burdened him with knowledge. A hand untouched can still be stained beyond sight. He could not unclasp that shackle, but perhaps he could wield it differently. Turn blade from throats toward chains. He crossed bridge to great September, seeking silent prayer though he rarely believed. Bells tolled prime. Pigeons soared through lofty arches. He knelt before unknown God, whispered names. Robb, Grey Wind, innocence unnamed. He whispered also Cersei, Tyrion, Brienne. And last he whispered Jaime. For he, too, needed mercy in wars still to come. When he rose, resolve settled on his shoulders, a cloak heavier than plate yet woven of purpose. He stepped outside into blinding sun, and the day began. Dry heat steeped the capital in early autumn haze, turning the red keep's crimson stone into a kiln. Jaime Lannister rose before dawn each morning and walked the battlements while the city still slumbered under violet skies, hoping a high perch and thin air might ease the weight pressing behind his eyes. It did not. Letters arrived nightly, Tywin's curt updates from Riverrun, Varys' spider-script hints of riots in Flea Bottom. Reports from the Reach that Tyrell harvest wagons were slowed by sabotage. Each scroll braided fresh strands into the noose he felt tightening around King's Landing. On the third day after his father's departure, Jaime stood in the Tower of the Hand, gazing from a narrow lancet at the ribbon of Blackwater Bay. A soft knock sounded. Ser Balon Swan entered, helm tucked under arm, white cloak immaculate despite the heat. Your pardon, sir? A raven from Harrenhal. Roose Bolton writes that northern outriders harry his columns. He asks for gold to hire freeriders. Jaime laughed without humor. Bolton requests payment for flaying wolves. Strange days indeed. He held out a hand. Swan passed the parchment. Bolton's spidery hand confirmed skirmishes near the Trident, then added a polite reminder that repairs to Harrenhal's towers required coin. Jaime crushed the letter. Send 30,000 dragons. Make it seem generous enough that his cup will never empty, yet cheap enough he feels insulted. Swan blinked. An insult disguised as tribute? Exactly. An indebted man is useful, an aggrieved one is predictable. When Swan left, Jaime paced. Gold kept swords sharp, but gold could not mend the fractures that spiderwebbed the realm. Every power smelt weakness in King's Landing. Tyrell's whispering, Martell's plotting vengeance for Elia, Greyjoy reavers testing northern shores. And somewhere across burning Yunkai's dunes, a silver-haired girl nurtured dragons on slave flesh. At midday, a squire informed him that Qyburn had returned from Maiden Vault. Jaime strode to the cool cellars beneath Maegor's holdfast. Torches sputtered, illuminating damp stone. Brienne sat unshackled on a low cot, her bruises fading to yellow. Qyburn bowed as Jaime approached. She remains stubborn, sire. No word of Sansa Stark's whereabouts. Perhaps she truly does not know. She truly does, Brienne said through clenched teeth. But oaths bind. Jaime dismissed Qyburn. When they were alone, he crouched. Tell me only this, is the girl safe from my sister's reach? Brienne's blue eyes searched his. Safer than she would be here. Ask no more. That must suffice. He slipped a key from his belt and unlocked the door. Walk out. Keep the cloak hooded. A Dornish merchant galley sails at dusk with spices for Sunspear. I booked passage under a false name. She stared, stunned. Why? Because debts are paid sooner or later, and I dislike compounded interest. He stepped back. Go. Brienne rose, legs stiff. I will remember. Then you will remember one other thing. The next time you draw steel against me, do not hesitate. I may hesitate no longer. She nodded once, pulled hood low, and vanished into the corridor's gloom. Jaime exhaled, a release of tension coiled since Harrenhal months past. One chain broken. 1,000 remained. That evening he attended small council. The chamber buzzed hotter than the city streets. Pycelle mopped sweat. Baelish fanned himself with ledger sheets. Olenna Tyrell sat in a visiting chair, needles of sarcasm gleaming sharper than her brooch. She had forced her way into session under pretext of wedding arrangements, and none dared bar her. Varys opened discussion. Bread prices triple. Grain barges are seized upriver. If his grace cannot feed the people, their loyalty will sour. Olenna clicked her tongue. Trust a eunuch to speak of sour things. My grandson has dispatched 36 wagons from Highgarden. Baelish's smile crept thin. How generous. Of course, our mint notes an alarming shortage of silver to pay the smiths forging the new coinage with Marjorie's face. Olenna tilted her head. Then stopped minting for a moon. No one eats silver. Jaime raised a hand. Enough. Lady Olenna, I thank you for your aid. Lord Baelish, divert gold from the royal tourney purses. Just can wait. Baelish bowed shallowly. If the crown wishes to appear parsimonious before its wedding. Jaime's stare cut. The crown wishes to remain upright on its throne. When the old woman departed, Pycelle produced another scroll. A message from Lannisport. Euron Greyjoy sails with banners of the Kraken. His silence rated a Manderley merchantman. The crew were decorated on the prow. Jaime suppressed a shudder. Ironborn always circle when blood scents the water. He turned to Baelish. Send Ravensport garrison extra trebuchets. Hire Braavosi galleys to patrol the Sunset Sea. Promise plunder rights. Pycelle coughed. Buying sell sales strains coffers. Selling burned villages strains subjects. Jaime snapped. Find the coin. Council adjourned near sunset. As Jaime stepped into the corridor, a dwarf's voice hailed him. Brother of mine, glowing with purpose. Did father leave you both reins and yoke? Tyrion waddled closer, clutching a goblet. I hear whispers you freed the Maid of Tarth. Bold? Jaime glanced about. The hall was empty save distant guards. Quiet. You drink too loudly. Tyrion grinned. Drink is language of truth. So is rumor. They say Bolton thanks you for Red Wedding. They say much. I believe little. Tyrion touched Jaime's arm. You changed, brother. Not by losing a hand, but perhaps by fearing you might. Jaime sighed. A near-maiming teaches limits. Or potential. Tyrion sipped. Come to my solar after feast. I have schemes to discuss, grain monopolies, river tolls, ways to tie Baelish in knots. Later, perhaps. Jaime strode off, ignoring the ache behind his temples. He had no appetite for schemes tonight. 3 days passed in bureaucratic drudgery. Jaime inspected city granaries, dismissed 4 corrupt dockmasters, ordered fresh wells dug in Flea Bottom, and broke up a Goldglow gambling ring by dangling its captain over a parapet until coins clattered from his pockets like hail. Each action won small cheers but more muttered resentments. A city lived on rumor as much as bread, and rumor now painted Jaime both savior and butcher. On the 7th day, a royal procession rode through Mudgate. Joffrey, erect and preening atop a white palfrey, Marjorie beside him, roses woven into auburn hair, Loras and the Kingsguard flanking. Jaime stood watch upon the steps of the Great September as bells pealed bridal fervor. Crowds cheered, but their smiles carried edges, teeth flashed too sharp, eyes measured distance to guards. Jaime felt tension coiling again. That night, Tyrell feast tents thronged the courtyard outside Maegor's holdfast, 30 silk pavilions glowing with lanterns perfumed with roast peacock and almond cakes. Minstrels played, tumblers spun, dwarf jesters reenacted Renly's ghostly apparition to the clangor of spoons. Jaime circulated, white cloak sweeping dust, exchanging nods with lords, gauging moods. He watched Joffrey pour wine on the head of his fool, heard laughter ripple, noted glances sharpen into frowns. Near midnight, as torches sputtered low, Tyrion approached bearing a silver flagon. "Taste arbor red with your least favorite sibling." "No time." Jaime's eyes roved. "You play goat-legged shepherd herding wolves in summer grass. They will still devour lambs." Jaime sighed, took a swallow. "Someone must watch." "Then watch this." Tyrion pointed. Across the yard, Marjorie knelt by a barefoot child, pressing a rose into her hand. The girl giggled. Crowd softened. Joffrey scowled at being upstaged. "See," Tyrion said. "Roses can soothe wolves. Or draw blood if gripped wrong." Jaime handed back flagon. "Keep eyes open." As dawn tinged sky pink, revelers staggered home. Jaime climbed to his chambers, removed armor with leaden limbs. Sleep beckoned, but a rap on the door summoned him again. It was Varys, clad in lavender silk, smelling faintly of lilac. "Forgive the hour, sire, but matters unfold unseen." Jaime motioned in. Varys produced parchment. "A smuggler's bird from Dragonstone. Stannis gathers Melisandre's flames and prophesy he plans a night assault on King's Landing within a fortnight." Jaime frowned. "He lacks ships. Not if Cell sails join Salador San, Lyseni corsairs, Bravos captains hungry for unpaid loans." Jaime paced. "Tywin marches west. Our fleet at Driftmark under Lord Celtigar readies for siege on Dragonstone. If Stannis strikes first, Blackwater repeats." Varys spread plump hands. "You did break his fleet once, but wildfire stores lie low. And men remember scorch of green fire too well." Jaime paused. "We need a commander afloat, not ashore." Varys raised a brow. "Yourself." "I sail within 3 days." Jaime's mind raced, garrison rosters, High Septon's blessing, balancing city defense. "Before I leave, the wedding feast must pass without blood." A dawning hope. Varys's smile was sad. "Events converge like rivers toward a falls." Jaime ignored metaphor. "Find who supplies Cell Sales coin. Track coin to purse. I have suspicions, Bravo's bankers, perhaps the Dornish." "Confirm." Quietly. When Varys departed, dawn had brightened. Jaime sank into chair. He felt like a juggler atop rickety stage, torches spinning overhead, wolf vengeance, dragon threat, kraken raids, rose plotting, shadow priestess promises, dwarf's intellect, queen's desire, father's will. One misstep and the blaze would fall. He closed eyes, exhaled slow. His right hand lay on armrest, fingers twitching unconsciously as if practicing parries. He remembered Maester Tommen's lessons, muscles learned by doing until motion flows without thought. Yet no lesson had taught how to parry fate. The morning of Joffrey's wedding dawned cloudless, the sky a pure blue seldom seen over charnel-scented streets. Church bells rang from sunrise, their clamor echoing across rooftops. Jaime donned ceremonial armor. Gilt breastplate chased with golden lions, snow-white cloak newly laundried, sword polished to mirror sheen. He led the Kingsguard through great September doors to flank the royal couple as Septon Alador intoned vows. Candles flickered, incense fogged the air. Jaime kept gaze sweeping pews. Tyrells resplendent in green and gold. Martell envoy archbrowed in orange silk. Iron Bank representative stoic. When Joffrey placed crown on Marjorie's head, cheers thundered. Jaime allowed small relief. One ceremony done. But feast loomed, and prophecy of disasters often favored wine-soaked banquets. He signaled Preston Greenfield and Trant to double watch at exits. Sunset bathed the outer courtyard in marmalade hues as guests gathered. 30 tables groaned with swan and saffron, sugar sculptures of lions and roses, casks of Dornish red. Joffrey strutted, crossbow over shoulder, a boy playing at war. Tyrion poured wine for him, face tight. Jaime watched, uneasy. The musicians struck a bawdy tune. Dwarfs in dog suits cavorted, reenacting War of Five Kings. Joffrey held with mirth, commanding Tyrion to fetch cups. Tyrion obeyed, eyes flicking to Jaime, a silent appeal. Jaime moved forward, but crowd surged, blocking. Joffrey drained the cup, coughed, demanded another. Then his face contorted. Fingers clawed throat. A sharp dread speared Jaime's gut. He vaulted a table, reached his Sun King as Marjorie screamed. Foam flecked Joffrey's lips. Throat bulged purple. Jaime seized him, feeling frantic pulse. "Water," he barked. "No use." Joffrey's eyes bulged, finding Jaime's. Hatred? Fear? Both? He convulsed. Blood trickled from nostril. Jaime laid him on marbled floor, knelt, and in that instant knew nothing would save him. Guests shrieked. Tyrell knights drew steel, gold cloaks clattered. Cersei's wails split air. Within heartbeats, chaos reigned. Cersei threw herself over the body, sobbing accusations. Tyrion. He poisoned him. Guards seized the dwarf. Sansa disappeared in swirl of cloak. Marjorie fainted. Grooms fled with peacocks flapping. Jaime rose, hand on sword. He wanted to cradle the boy, his son, though unacknowledged, but duty screamed first. Contain panic. King's guard on me, he roared. He and Loras formed rank, shielding queen and corpse. From dais, Grand Maester Pycelle tottered with vial in hand. Strangler, he cried. Poison rare from ass-high. Purple hue, instantaneous. Tyrion gave the cup, Cersei hissed. Arrest him, Jaime motioned. Trant and Blunt dragged Tyrion away. The dwarf offered no struggle, only looked to Jaime with weary ache. As Joffrey's body lay still, bells tolled death knell. Jaime's mind spun. Who? Why? Tyrells risked all but gained little. Dornish envoys proximity but lacked motive. Sansa's flight, suspicious. Baelish? Poison cup via fool? No time. Cersei keened, vowing dwarfs' heads would line walls. Jaime escorted her and Tommen to Maegor's holdfast under heavy guard. Within Queen's Solar she clutched Tommen, tears streaking rouge. They killed my boy, she whispered. Our boy. I will find who, Jaime promised. Start with the imp. We need proof. Proof? Proof died gasping in your arms. Jaime's jaw tightened. Emotion makes poor evidence. Cersei slapped him again, harder than before. Cold, she screamed. You hold his murderer in chains, yet speak of proof. She collapsed, sobs racking. Jaime knelt, embracing her. She beat fists against his chest until exhaustion stole strength. Then she trembled, head against his pauldron. Outside, thunder rolled though sky remained clear. Distant drums of war approaching. By dawn Tyrion languished in black cells. Varys skulked into Jaime's study as he examined seizure points on Joffrey's goblet. A grisly affair, the eunuch murmured. Save lamentations. Speak truth. Varys perched on windowsill. Truth is multi-faced. One face. Tyrells ensure Marjorie becomes queen to Tommen. Another. Littlefinger arranged Sansa's escape. My little birds saw her board a hidden skiff with Dantos Hollard. They sailed north on the Shy Maid. Littlefinger left court weeks ago to wed Lisa Arryn. Indeed, a convenient vantage from which to mold a new Vale alliance and shelter the last Stark girl. Varys sighed. He abhors being second. Jaime rubbed temples. Can we catch him? His ship already passed Maidenpool. Then fetch him later. More pressing, the city weeps king's blood. Stannis will seize confusion. Precisely. The small council meets at midday to crown Tommen. Tell them the crowning waits until I sail. I leave at first tide with red wine fleet. Varys lifted hairless brows. A king guard abandoning 2 kings' deaths? I will stop a third. Stannis cannot be allowed near Blackwater again. Varys nodded slowly. A noble intent. Yet absence breeds rumor. Let them whisper. Jaime's fists clenched. Rumors do less harm than wildfire. Before leaving, Jaime descended to the black cells. Torchlight cast bars into skeletal shadows. Tyrion looked up from straw pallet, eyes sunken. Well, brother, you wear worry like ill-fitting cloak. Jaime grasped bars. Tell me true. Did you know? No? I suspected Joff would choke on his cruelty, but poison? No. Tyrion sighed. Yet I will hang regardless. I will not permit that. Tyrion barked laugh. Your permission wanes since father left you ledger to balance. Hold hope. I sail tonight. I'll return. To dance my neck from rope? Jaime's voice softened. To find proof. Trust me. Tyrion studied him long. Very well. But hurry, my cellmates are rats who nibble hope quickly. Jaime left before emotion cracked resolve. Twilight found him on the deck of Lord Paxter Redwine's flagship Arbor Queen. Sails billowed, gulls cried. He wore plain steel breastplate, white cloak bound. Redwine bowed. Your command. Set course to Dragonstone. Weather south of Massey's Hook looks foul. Curve east. Aye. Galleys raised anchors. Chain ferry clanked, parting hull from quay. Jaime watched capital recede, red walls glowing under torches. September stones gleaming. On eastern battlement a lone figure watched, Cersei, hair silvered by moon. She did not wave. He touched railing as if distance already scoured him. Night winds snapped pennants. Waves slapped hulls. Jaime walked aft deck, eyes on horizon. His mind replayed Joffrey's death, purple lips, frantic stare. He had seen men die by sword, arrow, flame, rarely by invisible venom. Poison felt cowardly yet effective, a blade against kings harder to parry than armies. He feared Tommen even more, a gentle boy of tender years, soft prey for vipers. Sleep eluded him. He stood beneath star-salt sky, listening to ship creak. At second watch, he felt presence behind. Redwine's first mate pressed a sealed tube. Raven message delivered to mast. Jaime opened. Tywin's sigil crimson wax. Hold Riverlands secure. Girl hostage void. News of king reaches me late. Lords gather at river unsuspecting lion treachery. Dampen flames. Find proof of innocence. Bolton wavers. Act with steel or gold. Jaime cursed low. Proof again. He tossed scroll into sea spray. By sunrise storms battered fleet, iron gray sheets of rain, wind whipping masts. The Arbor Queen heaved, sailors shouted reef orders. Jaime helped lash rigging, hands raw but strong. Salt stung eyes, he tasted both ocean and tears yet unwept. 3 days they fought tempest, losing only a supply cog. When skies cleared, Dragonstone's jagged silhouette loomed, volcanic peaks, malformed gargoyles perched upon walls black as scabbed wounds. Redwine fleet anchored off Spraystone Point. Signal fires flickered mistimed patterns, Celtigar's watch in distress. Jaime ordered longboats. Shore swarmed with gaunt men in Baratheon colors, spears glinting. He strode onto wet sand, sword drawn. A knight approached, Lord Gunser sunglass, chainmail rust flecked. Sir Jaime, you honor us. Honor will wait. Where is Stannis? Within castle, gathering lords. Rumor says Red Woman stokes rituals. Shadow births, bleeding leeches bearing royal names. Sunglass shuddered. Our men fear dark. Jaime's gaze hardened. Fear cuts 2 ways. He organized assault, trebuchets on ships hurling potstone, ladders hoisted to seaward walls, archers knocking. The siege began at dusk. Flaming shot arched, splashing sparks across obsidian parapets. Baratheon men poured oil, red fires answered green. Jaime led vanguard at Breaker's Gate, shield high. Arrows rattled like hail, 2 stuck his pauldron, glanced off. He hacked through outer barricade, slipped on blood-slick stone, rose slicing. Memories of trident rushed, faster blows, reflex pure. He felt alive, whole. Within courtyard they met fresh resistance, knights under Ser Roland Storm, bastard of Night's Song. Jaime parried, riposted, cut hamstring, pivoted to block mace. Storm swung again, Jaime's counter-severed arm at elbow. Blood fountained. He pressed deeper. Towers bloomed fire as red wine marines hoisted banners on Barbican. Castle horns sounded retreat toward keep. Jaime halted pursuit. He had no wish to gut stone labyrinths where shadows hid. He signaled trumpet, parley. After hours stalemate, gates opened. Ser Davos Seaworth emerged, face ash-streaked, missing fingertips glinting silver hooks. Kingslayer, Davos greeted. What would you parley? Surrender Dragonstone. Stannis spares lives if he bends knee at capital and takes black. Davos shook head. Stannis will never bend. Nor will I betray him. Then why speak? Because children starve. Your siege nets will strangle them. Allow non-combatants safe passage. Jaime hesitated. Mercy weakens siege, Tywin would say. Yet memory of burned farm boys' toy pricked him. Agreed. Women and children depart by dawn. In return, you send me the Red Priestess unarmed. Davos's lips parted. Melisandre is king's advisor. Then keep starving. Jaime turned. Wait, Davos said. I will ask. Within hour, Red Woman glided from gate, scarlet silk swirling, eyes glowing ember. Guards flanked but did not touch her. Jaime stepped forward. Lady Melisandre, he called. Your god burns. My iron will sink him. She smiled serene. You think me captive? I walk path of fire willingly. Light does not fear dark walls. Walls fall. Jaime signaled irons to clap around her wrists. She did not resist. You kill one king to save thousands, she whispered. Will you kill another to doom millions? Jaime ignored riddle. He ordered her placed aboard Arbor Queen under heavy guard. When he turned, Davos observed silently from gate, sorrow etched deep. Siege settled into slow strangulation, but inner keep held. Ravensbourne Tywin's impatience conclude quickly returned for Tyrion's trial. Jaime escalated, nightly bombardment, mining tunnels, bribing sellswords inside to burn grain. After 19 days, hunger gnawed garrison into mutiny. Ser Loras Tyrell arrived aboard swift galley, bypassing blockade, demanding honor of assault. Jaime refused. This siege spares lives. A storm spares none. Loras bristled. Glory matters. Tombs have no glory. He kept Tyrell knights on ships. On the 21st day, a white flag rose. Davos again emerged, gaunt, holding a parchment. Stannis' seal. The note read, I sail north to rally free folk and men of the true faith. Dragonstone is ashes. You may hold cold stone, but never my cause. Stannis had slipped away with Melisandre. Jaime's guard slain, chains melted by alchemical fire. Fury burned Jaime's cheeks. He seized Davos's collar. Where did he go? Davos met gaze steady. North, because winter is coming while you quarrel over crowns. Jaime released him. He felt sudden exhaustion. Victory tasted ash. They returned to capital on chill wind. News awaited. Tywin murdered on privy, crossbow bolt. Tyrion vanished from cell. Varys missing. Cersei half-mad with rage. Tommen crowned. Margaery still queen. Jaime staggered through hallways reeking of incense and conspiracy. In the hand Solar, he found Kevan wearing chain of office. His uncle's face lined. Tyrion killed him, Kevan said, then fled. Some say you abetted. I was at sea. Cersei sees traitors everywhere. Jaime sank into chair. His father dead. Tyrion fugitive. House faltering. Uncle, Jaime whispered, how hold we all? Kevan's voice broke. We cannot. We can only choose which pieces fall. Night deepened. Jaime climbed to Tower of the Hand, now empty save bloodstain on tiled floor and lingering scent of bowstring wax. He knelt where Tywin died, touched dark mark. You built walls strong, father, but forgot doors. His whisper rasped. I will mend what remains. He rose, crossed courtyard to Maegor's holdfast. Torches cast Cersei's shadow long across corridor. She stood by Joffrey's tomb, crystal coffin glowing amethyst under flickering candles. He sleeps, but I cannot, she murmured. Jaime joined her. Tommen needs you alert. She turned, eyes rimmed red. I need you. Yet you sail, you pity wolves, you fail to avenge. I will avenge, but wisely. Wisdom. She laughed, brittle. Wisdom died when our dwarf put arrow through lion's heart. He reached, but she stepped away, tears shining. Go then, chase ghosts. I will guard what you abandon. She departed, leaving him with tomb's cold glow. He pressed palm to crystal. The boy within looked peaceful, as if poison were a bad dream. Jaime's hand trembled. Outside, bells tolled again, this time for Tywin. 5 peals for a hand of the king. Their echoes rolled down streets, mingling with cries of street hawkers, clatter of wagons, distant ocean roar. Life persisted, indifferent. Jaime walked ramparts until dawn, mind-mapping shards of realm, Bolton deepening ties with crowns, Greyjoy menace, Tyrell suspicion, Dornish vengeance, Targaryen dragons, Stannis north. Threads knotted, frayed. His hand flexed. He resolved 3 truths. First, the realm could not weather more red weddings. Second, swords alone would not suffice. Third, a man who kept both hands must use one to guide, the other to restrain, never to strangle hope. He sought Tommen's chamber at sunrise. The boy king sat with Ser Pounce, stroking fur, eyes sad. Jaime knelt. Your grace, he said softly, will you learn swordplay? Tommen bit lip. Mother says swords are dangerous. They are. But knowing danger teaches caution. I will instruct you. The boy brightened faintly. Truly, truly. Jaime smiled. In that small smile he felt splinter of light-pierced gloom. Training a child might not rebuild kingdoms, but each stroke of wooden blade could carve path away from fear. Lessons began that day in a hidden courtyard. Stance, balance, respect for edge. Tommen listened earnestly. Within a week, laughter returned to his voice. Jaime taught more than sword. Taught justice, mercy, stories of knights who chose honor over vengeance. The boy absorbed like dry parchment drinks ink. But beyond walls, storms brewed. A raven arrived. Winter had come to the north. White walkers rumored across wall. Stannis sought children of prophecy. Dragon Queen seized Meereen and spoke of crossing. Small council argued daily. Olenna demanded Dorne alliance. Kevan urged reconciliation with Tyrells. Cersei plotted trials of enemies real and imagined. Jaime mediated, sometimes succeeded, often failed. One eve, news from Riverlands. Arya Stark sighted leading outlaw band. Fry patrols slain. Bolton appealed for more gold. Jaime felt grim satisfaction. A wolf cub still had fangs. He requested meeting with Brienne's galley captain, returned from Sunspear. She was last seen riding north with Podrick Payne, searching for Sansa and Arya. Jaime penned secret letter. Find the girls before the Boltons. Offer safe escort south. He sealed with broken wax, no sigil. Winter rain lashed city. Riots flared over bread again. Jaime rode with gold cloaks into streets, shield raised against throne chamber pot, speaking calm. He ordered grain warehouses opened, minted crown IOUs to Tyrells. He took blow on helm from brick but stayed astride, voice steady until crowd quieted. That night, bruised, he fell asleep in armchair and dreamed of golden summer again, but this time he caught Cersei's hand before she slipped, only to find it blood-stained. He woke crying out. Weeks flowed into months. Snowflakes drifted rarely, melting upon rooftops, but their omen chilled hearts. Tommen grew surer with blade. Jaime grew wearier. He wrote to Kevin at Riverrun, to Redwine in Mander Bay, to Doran Martell in Sunspear, forging fragile chains of cooperation. Some answered. Others waited. One gray dawn, a raven arrived from Castle Black, the dead walked, the wall under siege, Lord Commander slain. The realm's petty wars burned scarce would when winter's frost giants marched. Jaime gathered counsel, read letter. Cersei scoffed, but fear lurked even in her. We must send aid, Jaime urged. Knights, grain smiths. North is traitor land, she spat. North is shield of men, he replied. If it falls, winter floods south. Olenna surprised all. Send your gold cloaks, Sir Jaime. Prove Lion's valor. He nodded. I will ride. Tommen clutched cloak hem. Must you go? Someone must stand where walls fail. That night Cersei visited. No anger, only quiet resignation. You chase monsters beyond maps. They chase us if unchecked. She took his unmaimed hand, kissed scar on palm left by earlier blade. Come back. I will, if world still stands. She left. Jaime packed armor, white cloak, golden lion helm, but chose a plain steel sword. On ramparts before dawn he met Kevin returned from Riverlands. Uncle embraced him, eyes moist. Riverrun secure for now, Kevin said. Go with my blessing. At Kingsgate a company waited, 200 volunteers. Knights, sellswords, a few Tyrell men seeking honor, a scattering of small folk archer corps. They knelt as Jaime mounted honor, his warhorse. He raised sword. We ride not for crowns or coin. We ride for life itself. Remember that when cold steals courage. Gate chains rattled. City fell behind. Snowflakes kissed helms. The Kingslayer rode north, both hands firm on reins, heart heavier than steel yet lit by ember of purpose. He did not know if he would return to Cersei, or if dragons would roast the city in his absence, or if Tyrion would ever stand beside him again. He only knew that the wall in the far north must not fall unchecked, and that a man who once broke oaths for love now sought to keep a greater oath, to defend the realm of men. Roads stretched endlessly white. With each hoofbeat he felt ghosts lighten and resolve harden. Hand whole, spirit cracked but mending, Jaime Lannister vanished into whirling snow, lion cloaked in white, marching toward shadow. White wind lashed across the King's Road, carrying flecks of snow that bit exposed skin like shards of glass. The sky above churned in muted violet swirls, the sun a thin coin buried behind clouds. Jaime Lannister rode at the head of his company, fur-lined cloak snapping, golden lion helm gleaming dully where whirls of frost tried to dull it. Beneath the helm his breath plumed, curling into the pauldrons of plain steel he'd chosen for this journey, a deliberate shedding of King's Landing's gilded vanity. Around him, 200 riders pushed onward, sworn swords in patched mail, Tyrell lancers in green and gold mantles, 36 gold cloaks eager to trade the stink of flea bottom for northern snow. And a column of Karstark deserters seeking absolution or vengeance, Jaime was not yet certain which. They pressed north as though pursued by specters, and perhaps they were. By the 5th day the rolling farms of the Crownlands surrendered to untamed woodland. Pines bent beneath fresh drifts. Crows squatted on skeletal branches, watching the travelers with hungry black eyes. Jaime gave orders sparingly. Keep torches lit at dusk. Rotate scouts hourly. share fires with the green boys who had never known chill beyond a mild Crownland's winter. When small folk villages appeared, lonely clusters of half-buried cottages, they were deserted, doors smashed inward, ashes blown cold in abandoned hearths. Wolf tracks ringed one hamlet, too large for ordinary beasts. His company rode faster after that. On the 9th morning, the party reached the banks of the Blue Fork. The river, once swift and iron-gray, was now a sluggish ribbon glazed by thin ice. Jaime ordered a halt. Across the water rose the remnants of a wooden bridge, ravens squabbling over broken planks. Ser Garland Tyrell drew alongside, helm sprouting a single beaten gold rose. "The ford downstream is rumored treacherous," Garland said, voice muffled inside his gorget. "Ice 4 fingers thick now. Might bear men, but wagons?" "It must." Jaime dismounted, boots crunching frost. "We cannot turn east toward the Twins. The phrase would extract toll or treachery, and I have debts enough." He knelt, gloved hand brushing the river's rim. The ice groaned but held. Garland signaled engineers. Axes rang, chopping trees for makeshift rollers. Men wrapped ropes around trunks and dragged them onto the ice. Jaime moved among them, lending his own strength. The sun labored up the sky, casting pallid light that reflected harshly off white terrain. Under their combined force, the wagons rolled across, wheels squealing protest. The rear axle of the final cart snapped midspan. With a curse, Jaime surged forward, shouting for ropes. The cart pitched, spilling barrels of salted pork into the Blue Fork. Water erupted through fractured ice, Arctic spray soaking mail shirts. 6 men launched lines, others heaved. Inch by inch they salvaged both cart and precious supplies. Jaime's gauntlets burned with cold by the time wheels touched northern bank. But the load was saved, and cheers crackled in frigid air. They camped that night on a rise of scrub pines. Fires hissed, ringed by hunched figures. Jaime sat sharpening his sword beneath a tarp, listening to wind purl through branches. Nearby, Ser Tallad the Tall, a freckled behemoth whose northern accent thickened with every mile, nursed a bruise where the cart's barrel had struck his thigh. "Not fought walkers yet," Tallad muttered between teeth chattering. "Nearly lost to pig's fat. Winter kills whichever it chooses," Jaime said without looking up. The whetstone hissed along the blade, each stroke echoing in his skull like a prayer. He wondered whether sharpening steel against unseen ice demons was folly, but the rhythm anchored him. Garland joined, offering a skin. Jaime drank thin, spiced wine, more water than warmth. Stars tremored overhead. In the hush between gusts, distant howls rose. Loneliness made sound. Some men stiffened, one crossed himself to the 7. Jaime finished the wine and rose. "Post double watch. Tell the lads to dream of hearths tonight, not of whites." He walked perimeter, boots crunching. Snow-crested midcalf, swirling where the wind swept hollows. At the eastern edge he found Corbin Pike, a lanky cell's word from Old Town, studying trees through narrowed eyes. "You see something?" "Shapes, sir." Pike pointed. "Could be fox. Could be worse." Jaime stared into gloom. Branches swayed, shadows swirled. Nothing. Yet instinct prickled beneath breastplate. He laid a reassuring hand on Pike's shoulder. "Wake the next watch early. Keep torches high." He returned toward camp but paused when he sensed movement behind. His sword whispered free. Snow fluttered from its edge. The trees answered only with rustling needles. He frowned and sheathed the blade, more unsettled by what he had not seen. Dawn arrived colorless. The company broke camp and rode again, leaving a web of hoofprints behind. The cold deepened, breath fog froze on cloaks, forming brittle fringes. Mid-afternoon they spied black smoke smudging the pale horizon. Winter fell. Approaching the shattered castle felt like riding into a graveyard. The stone walls, once proud gray granite, bore fresh repairs in mismatched timber and raw pine scaffolding. The watchtowers loomed like burnt teeth. Above the gatehouse flapped a pink banner, the flayed man of Bolton. Jaime ordered halt. A lone rider emerged from behind the portcullis, standard raised. "Who leads?" the Bolton man called, face obscured by fur cowl. "Sir Jaime Lannister, with King's men bound for the wall," Jaime answered, urging honor forward. The rider examined the banners, Lannister crimson, Tyrell green, the hastily stitched black watch cloak Jaime's tailors had provided to signify purpose. Lord Ramsay Bolton oversees Winterfell, the man said. You may parley within. I have no wish to linger, Jaime said. Provision or stores, stable exhausted mounts, and we depart at dawn. A pause, then the rider nodded. Gates creaked. Inside, the courtyard bustled with Bolton soldiers drilling under icy glare. Dogs bayed from kennels near broken remnants of the godwood. Jaime dismounted, eyes tracking every sneer sent his way. Memories of Robb Stark's death flickered like phantom pain, Jaime's thrust beneath ribs, Robb's shocked inhale. Now his killer's allies offered hospitality. Ramsay Bolton arrived wrapped in gray furs that blended with wet snow. His eyes were pale chips of ice, alive with cruel amusement. A choir of lions and roses, Ramsay said. I expected carrion bird cries, not such color in winter. We require rest, not conversation, Jaime said. Oh, but conversation warms. Ramsay's smile lengthened. Rumor says you freed my father's prized captive, Lady Brienne. Lord Roose was displeased. Rumor, Jaime answered. I did not come to discuss gossip. Then perhaps we trade necessities. Ramsay gestured toward storehouses. Provisions cost coin or favors. We pay. Generously. Garland stepped forward, dropping a velvet pouch that clinked. But we do not tarry. Ramsay shook the pouch, weighing. Coin melts in northern winters faster than hope. Yet I accept for now. He signaled a kennel master. Stables for horses. Meat for men. But keep your wits. The snow hides more than tracks. Night fell heavy over Winterfell. Jaime inspected quartering arrangements personally. Men placed in Great Hall cleared of rubble. Horses blanketed in hastily repaired stalls. Across the courtyard, Ramsay's hounds growled low, eyes glinting amber. Jaime tried to ignore the reek of blood that clung to kennel walls. He found a moment's solitude amid splintered columns of the shattered September moonlight etched jagged shadows across broken pews. He knelt, gloved hands clasped. No words came. He rose when footsteps echoed behind. Ramsay entered, torch casting orange halos. Praying, Kingslayer? To which god does a lion bend knee? Whichever listens. Hear none listen. The old gods died with their trees, the seven froze. The new gods wear pale blue eyes. Ramsay traced a broken statue's cheek with a dagger tip, but they answered to flayed skin. Jaime's voice hardened. Your father courts crowns through fear. Fear melts like coin when worst terrors rise. True, Ramsay said, licking snowflake from lips. Worst terrors ride with you. A knight who murders kings, a Sellsword host. Should I fear? Only what hunts beyond the wall. Jaime brushed past. Send me a walker, Ramsay called after, and I will flay it for study. Jaime did not answer. Before dawn they were gone. Bolton eyes watched from ramparts as the column wound north, torches fading into swirling gray. Jaime felt relief as Winterfell's silhouette sank behind drifts, but unease grew. The realm's underbelly felt flayed by men like Ramsay, making the coming night's claws dig deeper. Weeks passed in grinding march. The air grew colder, snow deeper, trees scarcer. On one bleak dusk, the column reached Queen's Crown. Abandoned holdfast perched beside iced-over lake. Smoke curled from watchtower chimney. Scouts returned reporting black cloaks within. Night's Watch Rangers under Ser Dennis Mallister, awaiting relief that never came. Inside Hearth Hall, Mallister greeted Jaime with clasp of leather-gloved forearms. His beard was white frost and worry. You bring needed swords, Ser. Wildling warbands press east of the wall. Our garrison's thin. Tell me of Lord Commander Snow, Jaime said. Rumors say he was slain. Mallister's eyes darkened. Dead? Stabbed by own brothers over alliance with wildlings. But the wildlings themselves stand with us now. King beyond the wall Mance Raider fell to Stannis' charge. Melisandre's flames burn bright at Castle Black. Jaime frowned. Stannis here? He slipped Dragonstone under my nose. I, with Queen's men and lordlings hungry for new titles. He holds the wall by right of fire and iron. Then we ride to him. 2 days later they crested a hill and beheld the wall, a colossal white cliff spanning horizon, taller than any keep, its surface reflecting sunrise in blinding splendor. Beneath it sprawled Castle Black, wooden palisades dusted with snow, towers tilted, smoke venting from smithy chimneys. High atop the long barrow, black banners mingled with Baratheon stag and a fiery heart enclosing crowned stag, Stannis' sigil. Jaime's arrival drew swift attention. Stannis' knights emerged, armored in plain steel emblazoned with hearts and stags. At their head strode Lord Valor Florent, crimson beard bristling. King Stannis grants audience once your men are quartered. Florent studied Jaime. Leave half your arms at gate. Jaime nodded. He ordered detachments to stable horses and stack arms while keeping short blades. He entered the keep with garland and 3 sworn shields. Inside, corridors smelled of pine pitch and boiled oats. At the strategy hall's hearth stood Stannis Baratheon, cloaked in black sable, face leaner than rumor, eyes smoldering. Kingslayer, Stannis spat. I expected one-handed cripple, not golden rogue. I expected you on Dragonstone, Jaime replied evenly. Stannis motioned to map table. Duty shifts ground. Wildling hordes beaten, but greater evil breaches woods. White walkers, whites? Dead men do not break for gold or glory. I rode north for that very fight. Good. Stannis pointed to pins arrayed around miniature castles. We hold the wall's 3 gates, Castle Black, Eastwatch, Shadow Tower. Yet beyond lie 100 leagues of open ice. Scouting parties vanish. My best knights returned claiming ice wraiths glimmer in blizzards. Jaime studied pins. We strike first, ride hard to Har home, evacuate survivors before white swell numbers. Exactly. Stannis' jaw tightened. But ships at Eastwatch rot, my carpenters struggle. You commanded fleets, did you not? Jaime inclined head. I will oversee repairs. Time short, Stannis continued. We sail before full moon. At Hardhome we burn every corpse, living or dead. Behind him, Melisandre emerged from shadows, red eyes reflecting fire. Jaime's hand drifted to sword. Sir, Jaime seeks redemption, she intoned. But fire shows all debts. Stannis ignored her. We sail, we strike, we live or die. No politics beyond the wall. Jaime exhaled. Politics die at shore of death. He met Stannis' gaze. I will command fleet. Garland leads ground spear. Agreement struck, they set to work. Jaime toured Eastwatch dockyards. 3 barks half sunken. 2 galleys missing masts. 1 nar salvageable. He directed carpenters, riggers, hammered planks beside them. Bare hands blistering anew. Snow whirled, clinging to hair, but sweat steamed beneath cloak. At night he drafted supply tallies by lamplight, sharing ale with Night's Watch stewards who marveled at a lion working not issuing orders. Garland drilled infantry in courtyard, teaching Tyrell lancers to fight in snowshoes. Gold cloaks learned to hinge shields into interlocking turtle to blunt white charges. Northern trappers trained archers to dip arrowheads in obsidian. Word spread of Lannister Night's Watch camaraderie, mutterings of old grudges softened under necessity. During rare lulls, Jaime watched Tommen's kitten Ser Pounce chase scraps of memory through his thoughts. He wrote letters to Cersei, urging calm, to Kevin, requesting more dragoglass from Dragonstone mines, to Brienne, though he did not know her whereabouts. Wherever you roam, remember oaths bind hearts stronger than chains. No ravens returned. On 15th day, a horn blast echoed across Ice Plain, 3 long notes. The camp froze. 3 blasts, White Walkers. Jaime sprinted outside. From atop the wall, rangers pointed north. In the blue twilight, a swirling storm advanced, unnatural, a towering wall of snow and shadow. Ready the archers? Stannis bellowed from switchback stairs. Garland rallied men. Jaime drew sword, the cold biting blade until it sang. Below, castle gates slammed, torches planted across rampart. The storm swallowed distance at nightmare pace. Shapes formed within snow, 100, 1,000 blue-lit eyes. Then the world erupted in screams. The first white wave crashed against palisade, skeletal hands clawing over spike logs. Obsidian arrows felled many, exploding bone into bright blue motes, yet more flooded behind. Gold cloaks met them with pikes, hard resolve quavering under stench of death. Jaime led a countercharge, white cloak streaming. His blade cleaved decayed sinew, sparks of blue fire sputtering with each connected strike. Beside him, Garland's rose-adorned helm dipped and rose, cutting a path. But the dead were endless. A giant white lumbered, ribs exposed, clutching trunk like club. It swept 6 men aside, bodies shattered on frozen ground. Jaime ducked under swing, lunged to sever Achilles. The giant dropped, shrieking in voice of grinding ice. Garland drove obsidian spear through its eye. It collapsed, snow shaking. Horn blasts again, single note. Gate breach. Jaime pivoted. Western sally door splintered under surge of corpses. Nightwatch scurried to form shield wall. Jaime sprinted, rallying Tyrell spearmen. Together they locked shields across gap, pushing into breach. Dead hands clawed over rims, Jaime sliced wrists free. Through swirl, Jaime glimpsed white silhouette atop skeletal horse, skin pale as moon, armor rippling with frost. A white walker. It raised crystalline blade, pointing at Jaime. He felt chill crawl through marrow. The walker spurred mount forward, gliding soundless. Men scattered, arrows shattered when touching its form. Jaime stepped forward, sword ready. Their blades met Valyrian steel against ice crystal. Shockwave cracked air. His arms shook, the walker's blade gleamed intact. Struck again, overhead slash. Jaime barely parried, sparks freezing midair. He fought blind instinct, matching strokes with the grace that had made him legend. Yet every block numbed muscles further. Frost spread along steel. The walker lunged, blade aimed for heart. Jaime sidestepped, twisting, and with last strength hacked low, Valyrian edge biting through ice shin. The walker stumbled. Jaime reversed grip and drove sword clean through its chest. Ice shattered. Creature exploded into shards of frost swirling away in wind. Silence fell for heartbeat. The surrounding whites froze, lifeless bodies collapsing. A ragged cheer broke among defenders. The storm itself seemed to falter, withdrawing tendrils. Jaime staggered, breath ragged, sword rhymed with frost. Stannis approached, flaming sword raised, gift from Melisandre. His eyes met Jaime's, something like respect gleaming. First of many, Stannis said. Jaime nodded. Snowflakes drifted gentle now as though storm subdued by shattering of its master. They burned the corpses until dawn, pyres casting eerie green when contact with walkers' fragments melted. Survivors tallied losses, 80 men dead, scores wounded, but Castle Black still stood. Morning sun glinted off the wall, reflecting pink and gold. Jaime leaned against parapet, exhaustion flooding limbs. Garland joined, handing flask. You slew a walker, Garland murmured. Bards will sing. Let them sing when realm lives. Jaime sipped water tasting of ash. We sail to Har home or those songs end soon. 3 days later, repaired galleys set sail, eastward, hugging northern coast. Wind shrieked, waves smashed hulls with icy fists. Jaime stood at prow of Maiden's Fury, wool cloak slick with salt, hair whipping. Beside him, Ser Dennis Mallister pointed northeast. Their Har home. Smoke columns blackened horizon. As ships neared, horror unfolded. 1,000 stranded wildlings hugged shoreline, ragged children wailing, old men coughing and cold. Beyond them, tide of whites massed, prevented only by makeshift fire pits. The smell of decay clung even to sea salt. Stannis's flagship signaled attack. Catapults hurled fire pots onto white ranks. Archers loosed flaming arrows. Jaime commanded landing boats, Tyrell spears first, then Night's Watch, then gold cloaks. Waves rocked craft, but they hit shore, shields raised. Jaime leapt into knee-deep surf, sword high. Dead surged through smoke. Battle chaos swallowed sound, steel ringing, children crying, white shrieks. Jaime's world narrowed to arcs of black steel and bursts of blue fire. He carved a path toward a cluster of huddled women guarding infants. To boats, he shouted. Garland and Talad formed corridor, shields overlapping. Wildlings sprinted, clutching furs. Behind, whites lunged. Jaime turned to hold rear, parrying decayed axemen, slashing through a bear-sized corpse missing jaw. Water lapped ankles, turning crimson. Suddenly the sand vibrated. From inland forest plodded giant white, once a living giant, eyes glowing azure, dragging ship mast as club. It roared, a sound of glaciers calving. Men faltered, arrows pinged off its frozen hide. Jaime yelled for obsidian, but stocks were low. He caught glimpse of Melisandre atop dune, staff raised. Fireball erupted, engulfing giant's head. Flames licked ice flesh, but the creature kept coming. Jaime sprinted forward, weaving between bodies. He grabbed a fallen spear tipped with dragon glass, climbed dune of corpses as giant swung. The mass catch ground, sending sand spray. Jaime leapt, digging spear into giant's chest. Obsidian bit, and in blinding flash the giant burst, collapsing in avalanche of ice fragments. Jaime's rolled free, half-buried, ears ringing. Hands yanked him upright, Mallister and Talad. Last boats. Mallister cried. They sprinted toward water. A circle of whites pressed from all sides. Jaime's sword flicked, severing limbs. Talad's long reach smashed skulls with hammer, each hit echoing like drum. They gained surf just as final skiff shoved off. Whites waited in pursuit. Jaime slashed ropes, pushing craft. Arrows from deck of Maiden's Fury thudded into dead. Boat rocked, but oars bit water. Jaime collapsed among wildling refugees, chest heaving. On board the flagship, fires burned across deck where wounded lay. Stannis surveyed survivors, face unreadable. Half of them spared, he murmured. Half lost. He turned to Jaime. Your valor turned tide. I name you. No titles, Jaime interrupted. Save them for children who might yet see summer. Stannis inclined head. As you wish. The fleet set course back to Eastwatch, battered but triumphant. During voyage, Melisandre visited infirmary where Jaime's arm was bound. She studied him with ember eyes. You defy fate, Kingslayer. Twice its grasp melted before Valyrian steel. I've served fate once, he said. It paid pearly. Her smile curved. Your redemption lies not in iron but fire. Embrace the Lord of Light and your sins burn away. I'll keep my gods, thank you, Jaime replied. They at least let me sleep. Sleep is end of striving. She reached to touch bandage, he pulled away. She departed with soft laugh, leaving scent of smoke and roses. Weeks later they returned to Castle Black. News awaited, Tommen safe, though Dorne stirred, Cersei maneuvered politics fiercely. But the letter's closing line pierced Jaime's heart, Tyrion rumored across the narrow sea, advising Dragon Queen. He folded parchment, eyes closing. Nightfall at Castle Black found Jaime atop the wall, wind howling fierce. He stared north, endless white strewn under stars, and south, where faint flicker of kingly wars brewed. Between stood him, sword whole, spirit scarred, choices ahead like twin roads disappearing into darkness. He thought of Tommen practicing stances, of Brienne scouring woods for lost girls, of Tyrion perhaps raising banners of dragons, of Cersei holding cord of knives and silks. He unsheathed sword. The moonlight caught Valyrian ripples, silver and shadow. He lifted blade in silent oath to hold the wall, to guard realm, to never again let fear or pride dictate slaughter. The wind snapped cloak around him, startling ravens into flight. Their silhouettes crossed moon like symbols of destined omens. Jaime whispered into Gale. I am no Kingslayer tonight. I am shield. Behind him the campfires gleamed warm dots along rampart, and for a breath the cold lessened, as if world granted fragile approval. Far below, forest rustled with secrets older than iron. Ahead, winter marched steady, but within Jaime Lannister burned new ember of conviction that even walls of ice could harbor flame. Pale dawn crept over the frozen ramparts. Staining them the faintest rose before the color bled into white again. Jaime Lannister had not slept. He stood with gloved hands braced on the crenellations, breath feathering out in ragged clouds. South, the world curved away beneath a quilt of thin snow, while north the land looked drowned beneath drifting banks. An endless ocean that waited only for men to forget its depth. Somewhere in that ocean the dead were gathering anew. Bootsteps scraped. Garland Tyrell approached, helm tucked under an arm rimmed with frost. His lashes glittered silver. Ravens from Eastwatch, he said, offering 2 rolled parchments. One sealed black for the watch, one for you. Jaime slit the lion-red wax first. The quill strokes inside were quick and desperate. Brienne of Tarth at Deepwood Motte with Arya Stark in tow, seeking safe road to Castle Black. Pursued by Bolton riders. Request guidance. Jaime's pulse thumped. He read again to feel the words steady beneath his thoughts. Arya alive, Brienne alive, Ramsay's hounds snapping at their heels. Deepwood lay far to the west, 100 leagues through forested valleys choked with snow. Garland waited. Ill news. News that bends the path we walk, Jaime replied. He tucked the raven note inside his cuirass and broke the black seal. The watch's message came from Cotter Pike at Eastwatch by the sea, for ships sighted off Skane cresting breakers. Sails of cold leather, crew of silence. Fear White Fleet. Send fire and men at once. Another front, Garland muttered as Jaime summarized. Every hour we hold here the dead find new doors. They find them faster if we scatter. Jaime's gaze drifted to the false dawn. But sometimes a door opens for hope too. Arya Stark north of the neck, if we bring her through the wall, we may still knit the realm. Tully blood runs in northern veins, Stannis needs friends south of Moat Cailin. Stannis will call it politics, Garland said, but I've begun to understand. Even politics turns soldiers' work when winter comes. Jaime smiled despite the chill. You've grown grim, my Rose Knight. He ordered a council that morning in the library tower. Stannis, Melisandre, Ser Dennis Mallister, Cotter Pike via Fresh Ravenquill, and one the giant seated on haunches in the courtyard below, his deep rumbles shaking snow from window ledges. Maps littered the table, their ink freezing if left too near the open arrow slits. When Jaime spoke of Brienne and Arya, Stannis's mouth pressed to a harsh line. The Boltons remained sworn to the Iron Throne. Harboring the wolf girl brands us traitors in the eyes of the South. So did burning your nephew with leeches, Jaime answered, not flinching. Claim your crown through winter or through parchment, one path costs fewer lives. Stannis's knuckles whitened on the map edge. Melisandre's red eyes studied Jaime as if reading a second script under his words. The others looked between them like dogs under a brewing storm. Send riders, Jaime said. 20 swift. Garland leads. I ride beside him. Stannis exhaled white mist. Very well. I cannot spare more. The wall must stand and Eastwatch needs ships. But bring the girl. And if the wench carries tales that wound this alliance, she bleeds. Brienne has more honor than any of us, Jaime said. She will not wound what she means to heal. After council they readied. Jaime chose lean horses built for northern winters. Shaggy-coated, sure-footed. He stripped his armor to its essentials. Mail hauberk under boiled leather jerkin, white cloak for warmth and recognition. Longclaw, the Valyrian sword once borne by Lord Commander Mormont, had been gifted to Stannis but lay unused. Jaime considered it, weighed old superstitions, then left it. Oathkeeper would suffice. They departed at midnight under a veil of ice fog. Jaime, Garland, Talad, 8 Night's Watch Rangers, and 10 Tyrell Outriders. One lumbered along outside the gate to watch them vanish. Snow swirling around his silhouette like swirling smoke rising from a pyre. East of the King's Road they turned westward, cutting across rough foothills where hoarfrost coated every stone. The moon was a claw scratch of silver. No torches, only the muted glow of ore. A curtain's rippling green overhead. Sounds traveled far. Once they heard a distant scream, human it seemed, and the echo gnawed at each man's silence until even Talad murmured a prayer to the mother. Near dawn they crossed the fever water, its surface glazed to a crust delicate as spun glass. Rangers formed a line, testing each step with spear shafts, guiding mounts single file. Halfway over, the ice groaned like bowstrings drawn past breaking, but held. On the second day they reached the old wolf road that once ran from Deepwood Motte to Torrens Square. Wind had piled drifts waist-deep in the gullies. They wound higher to ridgelines where frost-bitten birch groves offered little shelter but clearer progress. Garland rode with shoulders hunched but eyes sharp. Stags once roamed these ridges, he said. In Highgarden we cull them for feast. They look gentler than lions but fight fiercest when wounded. Like Starks, Jaime replied. Late afternoon they found the ruins of a timber tower, its top collapsed inward. Inside lay fresh corpses, 5 flayed men nailed to the walls in the Bolton fashion, skinless faces twisted. The sigil of Karstark pinned to one chest gave Jaime pause. The Karstark deserters riding in his column might take this poorly. He ordered the bodies burned. While the pyre spit black smoke, he found tracks leading south, hoofprints of lighter horses, hunters or scouts, spacing short as though in hurry. A torn scrap of blue linen snagged on a thorn looked suspiciously like the cloak Sansa Stark was said to have worn. That night the company bivouacked under leaning sentry pines. Jaime took the first watch. Snow whispered across frozen needles. In that hush he felt eyes on him, haunted eyes of men he'd slain, wolves he'd betrayed, children whose fathers never returned from his swords. Whispered rumors said the North itself kept memory like a deep-buried heart still beating. He half expected the trees to murmur stark words, winter is coming. Instead only wind. He thought of Cersei, of Tommen gripping a practice blade in the courtyard, of Joffrey stiff within crystalline coffin. He wondered what shape grief would freeze into beneath the sky. Then the shift ended and he woke Talad. They reached the outskirts of Deepwood Motte on the 4th dawn. The ancient wooden walls loomed dark, rimmed in ice, unimpressive compared with stone strongholds but formidable nonetheless. Twin gatehouses appeared shut. Smoke rose inside. Jaime sent a lone ranger under white flag. 10 tense minutes passed before the gates creaked open. They rode in single file, hooves crunching. The courtyard was crowded. Wildlings, Northmen, women, and children sheltered under patched tents. Atop the steps of the great hall stood Brienne of Tarth, cloak ragged but eyes bright, and beside her, small even wrapped in wolfskin, Arya Stark. Arya's face was harder than Jaime remembered her sister's portraits, sunken cheeks, a subtle twist of suspicion, yet the moment she saw Garland's rose crest, she startled. Garland dismounted, sank to one knee, and bowed. Lady Arya, Lord Renly once spoke of your courage. I will serve you until safe beyond the wall. Arya blinked, then looked at Jaime. King Lear. No hatred, just recognition. Sir Jaime, he corrected gently, if that pleases you. She shrugged. Names change nothing. Brienne descended the steps and the relief flooding her features lifted a weight Jaime had carried unspoken. They clasped forearms. She smelled of leather, cold sweat, and pine. No words necessary. Rangers spread among refugees. The wooden gate closed behind. Within the hall Jaime met the garrison commander, Galbart Glover, gray-bearded but unbowed. He described skirmishes, Bolton outriders pushing from Bar Roland's, Ironborn raids along Stony Shore, rumors that Euron's ships sailed far as Harhorn. We can't hold, Glover concluded. The Matas would over earthwork and they've got rams. We plan to slip into the Wolfswood tonight. Better to march with us, Jaime said, laying map slats across a barrel. We'll cut east to the wall by way of the Shadowclaw Ridge, dense pines cover tracks, and the ridge tunnels under to the King's Road north of the last river. Glover tapped a finger. Old smuggler path. Snowdrifts may bury the pass. Then we dig. That afternoon Jaime walked the perimeter with Arya. She kept a hood low, occasionally practicing footwork with a stick she pretended was needle. Jaime corrected her stance, hips square, weight on balls of feet, and when she flashed annoyance, he smiled. Your sister once asked if I trained with Syrio Farrell, he said. Arya halted. How would Sansa know Syrio? She didn't, Jaime admitted. She was teasing. But you did, I hear. When Arya stayed quiet, he offered her a short northern dirk, keen blade, balanced. Not a bravo sword, but a dead man's tool is better than memories. Arya weighed it, then tucked it under belt. If you betray us, I'll take your good hand too. Jaime chuckled. You might. Many have tried. At dusk they evacuated. Refugees marched in a ragged serpent, torches hooded. Wolves held behind real wolves, huge and hungry. Jaime kept a rear guard of Tyrell outriders while Garland and Tal Ad rode flank. Brienne led the vanguard with Arya and the wildling spear wives, their pale hair like flickers in lamplight. Snow thickened after midnight. Flinty pellets stung cheeks. The drums of hooves behind told of pursuit. Bolton riders emerged in moonlit gaps, shapes flitting between trees, backlit by torches. Arrows hissed. One ranger toppled with shaft and throat. Jaime ordered scattered countervolley. The company pressed harder up the ridge path, breath rasping. Near the pass, the wind died abruptly, replaced by muffled quiet. Jaime reined in snow-damped sound. No clatter of hooves behind. He squinted through swirling flakes. Dark shapes lay upon the trail, horses down, riders sprawled. They reached a clearing where bodies littered the snow, Bolton men ripped open as if knifed by claws. Tracks' huge paw prints circled. Arya stepped forward, eyes wide, and whistled a low broken trill. From the blackness bounded a dire wolf, gray-white giant, eyes golden. It halted before her, snout wet with blood, tail swishing snow into arcs. En Nymeria, Arya whispered. The beast nudged her hand. Refugees gasped. Even Talad flinched. Jaime stared, all mingling with unease. I thought she was lost years ago. She found her pack, Arya said softly. Indeed, behind trees other wolves crouched, smaller but still monstrous compared to ordinary hounds. Nymeria's gaze flicked to Jaime. Some recognition there, perhaps the wolf smelled steel and king's blood on him. Then she turned north, trotting ahead, pack following. Arya addressed the refugees. They'll guard us. No Bolton will near while her pack walks. No one objected. By dawn the party emerged onto the plateau of Shadowclaw Ridge where snow whipped sideways. The wall's crown glimmered faintly to the east, its sheer face catching pale glow. But between stood the last river valley, a white bowl swirling under storm clouds. Jaime studied it from bluff. Ice fog churned inside like cauldron froth. No pursuit visible, yet shapes moved within the fog, shambling outlines, blinking blue embers. Whites. He cursed softly. The valley must be crossed for the smuggler tunnel. They could detour, but with wounded and children the extra distance risked starvation. He turned to Brienne. We cut straight. Form triangle, rangers front, refugees center, wolves outer ring, cavalry rear. Fire arrows only, obsidian where possible. If we break, we lose. Brienne nodded. They descended. Fog swallowed them. Cold thicker here, deadening limbs. First whites rushed, tattered ironborn thralls, axes raised. Arrows felled them, bodies vanishing into drifts. But more came, dozens, then scores, their blue eyes glowing dim through haze. Nymeria's pack tore into flanks, ripping limbs. Brienne hacked through a pair, shield splintering. Jaime felt each heartbeat like hammer blow. His sword flickered silver arcs, shattering shoulders, splitting skulls. A horn blast behind, Bolton riders. Ramsay himself. Horses burst from Treeline atop ridge. crimson banners snapping. Yet wolves leapt among hooves, panic appending cavalry. Some riders chose to join battle rather than break. Their arrows clipped whites, inadvertently aiding refugees. Chaos fused living enemies into accidental allies against death. Jaime called orders, voice hoarse. Will left, spears forward. He caught sight of Ramsay's sigil toward ridge crest, flayed man casting long shadow. Then it toppled as Nymeria lunged at the bannerman. Too many whites. The column slowed. Refugees cried. A shriek, a child snatched by skeletal fingers. Jaime spurred ahead, cleaving rescuers free. Reins iced. Horse snorted steam tinged with fear. Then clarion horns on eastern slope. Stannis' crimson banner with fiery heart. He had ridden from Castle Black with fresh cavalry and carted pitch barrels. Knights thundered downhill, smashing into white flank. Flaming arrows streaked, arcs glimpsed through swirling fog, igniting barrels that exploded amid undead ranks, scattering limbs in orange glare. Within scorched light, Jaime spotted Ramsay Bolton dueling a white for sheer frenzy. Ramsay cut it down, turned to lock eyes with Jaime across field. A grin split his blood-flecked face. He spurred towards Jaime, axes raised. Jaime answered with a drive of heels. Horses collided shoulder to shoulder, axes ringing on Jaime's shield. He countered, sliding blade under Ramsay's arm, slashing reins. Ramsay fell, rolling through snow. He sprang up, hurling a dagger that glanced off Jaime's pauldron. Another white smashed into Ramsay. He shrieked curses, cutting wildly until teeth sank in his thigh. Jaime wheeled back, but already Nymeria pounced. Ramsay's scream gurgled into snow as dire wolf jaws closed around his throat. The valley quieted, whites crippled by flame, Bolton cavalry routed or devoured. Stannis' men formed defensive ring while refugees hurried to tunnel mouth marked by two ancient pines. The hidden entrance gaped, descending under ridge in old smuggler's stairs. Inside, flickering torches revealed stone walls where forgotten cargo once passed unseen. At tunnel's midpoint, Arya halted beside Jaime. Smoke smudged her cheek, but her eyes gleamed. "Thank you," she said, simple as a blade. Jaime touched her shoulder. "Thank your wolf. She's her own." They emerged before dawn on icy flats half a league from the wall's shadow. Ropes and winches awaited, manned by Black brothers lowering ladders. Refugees ascended slowly by cage hoist. When Arya stepped off the top platform onto the rampart stones, ravens exploded from nearby nests, cawing into pinklight skies like heralds. Within Castle Black's yard, survivors filed past smoking braziers. Hot stew perfumed the air. Jaime dismounted stiffly. Stannis approached, helm under arm. "Bolton dead." "Ramsay is," Jaime said. His men scattered. "Then North breathes easier." Stannis eyed Arya, greeting giant 1-1. "The girl is Stark, useful symbol." His voice lowered. "But the Lannister name in her rescue complicates her loyalty." "I saved her from flayers and whites," Jaime said. "Let mercy blossom where fear roots." "Mercy?" Stannis almost smiled. "I will crown mercy if it bends me." Behind them, Brienne knelt before Melisandre, demanding healing for wounded spear wives. The Red Woman laid hot hands upon burns, whispering in Arachlor's tongue. Flames danced, wounds knit smoke-scented flesh. Jaime went to the rookery alone and wrote 3 letters. To Cersei. Arya found. Winter deeper than crowns. Trust Tommen's gentleness, guarded against Varys' veiled advice. To Kevin, Bolton's leaderless. Send word to River Lords, Stark girl alive under walls protection. Let Freys feel tremor of shifting oaths. To Tyrion, though he knew not the delivery, if dragons fly west, remember snow hides truth's fire cannot melt. The North can befriend if South stops bleeding it. He tied parchment to raven legs, watched them vanish into slate clouds. That night a feast of survival filled Castle Black, thin stew thickened with new boar meat, crusts of crusty bread, a cask of arbor red garland had squirreled away. Rangers laughed, wildly and too loud, as though joy might shatter if not used swiftly. Jaime drank sparingly. Across the table, Brienne told tall stories of Podrick's bravery holding a pass with only frying pan and faith. Arya listened, eyes shining but not smiling, she hadn't learned to yet. Mid-feast a horn blast cut mirth, one short note, rider approach. Gate guards hustled, snow gusted in, and through the yard rode a figure cloaked in mottled gray, face hidden beneath wolf fur hood. When he dismounted, the hush thickened. Jon Snow shook back the hood. He was pale, scar slanted across throat, eyes dark with something deeper than living sleep, yet alive he was, breathing steam. Some men gasped. Melisandre watched from archway with calm certainty. Jon's gaze rested on Arya. Sister stumbled forward, they embraced, tears silent. Jaime exhaled, feeling a chapter close and pages turn. Resurrection changed the game board, shifting pieces he could not yet see. He approached Jon once reunions calmed. "Lord Snow," he said, "you outstrip rumor." Jon studied him, eyes no longer boyish. "Sir Jaime, you saved my sister. Some debts need paying before they're asked." Jon nodded slowly. "Father once said even lions can keep their word. I wish I'd given him reason to say it sooner." Stannis called council again, now including Jon. The hall filled with lamplight and steam from wet cloaks drying. Maps redrawn, Eastwatch threatened at sea, Harhome relief done, Bolton defeat, Ironborn raiding. South, Cersei's grip uncertain, Tyrell Rose's curling thorns. Jon spoke, "We need alliance of wolves, lions, dragons, whoever still lives to face the Night King. Divide and realm falls." Stannis bristled at mention of Dragon Queen, Melisandre's eyes flared, Jaime merely listened. He thought of Tyrion perhaps advising the Silver Queen of ships crossing stormy seas. "Then we must send envoys," Jaime said. "A Stark to rally north, a Lannister to keep south at bay, a Baratheon to claim right of war, and a Crow reborn to bind us all by truth few have seen." Silence answered, but not opposition. Outside, snow kept falling soft now, like feathers settling after a great struggle. The wind had stilled for first time in moons. Jaime stepped onto courtyard battlements, breathed crisp night. Brienne joined, leaning elbows on frost-rimed stone. "You once told me there are no men like you. Tonight you proved yourself wrong." He chuckled softly. "Perhaps I grew beyond the man I was." "Perhaps you always could," she said. They watched Aurora shine above the wall, green waves weaving with violet threads, a tapestry across heaven. Below, castle lights glowed like a hearth in a world of dark. Jaime felt, for a moment, peace fragile as hoarfrost, but real. Time would shatter it soon enough. Wars of ice and fire both waited. But he clutched that moment as firmly as any sword. For the first time in his life, Jaime Lannister believed the hand he kept might yet build something the world could lean on when storms came howling. And storms were coming, he could smell them on the wind. Yet he smiled into their teeth. Because now at last, he understood the oath he tried to name all his life. Not King Lear. Shield of the living.